The appointment is at 3:45. They all came on.
Ow. Shocking. Is this thing on? We got cameras. These things work. Not either. I can. Let's see.
That looked like a barrel in front of your coffee cup. That was funny.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, the camera was sitting and just looking at the top of it, and on the screen it looked like a barrel. Because of the little ring.
Birthday to Psychotic. I don't know if that's his real name, but I'm saying.
It's Jordan. It's Jordan's birthday.
Oh, yeah. Let's see. Sprite. Lights. Mystery guest. Oh, no. Tony's no mystery guest. This is Tony Hubert, the fabulous host of This Day in History, among other great things around here.
No, This Day in History.
Well, I mean, you're a host of my heart.
Ah, thank you.
I just didn't take the time to make up a special Eric Everett Tony thingy today. I'm a piece of shit. What do you want from me?
A lot.
What's up, Donna? Burnt offerings, Psychotic,
Burnt offerings, huh?
Jordan.
Never seen that one before.
I've not either. I like burnt ends, though.
Burnt ends are good.
Fabulous. Especially from that joint down the road here.
Docs?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I don't really hear anything in my headphones.
You don't hear nothing?
No?
No, not really.
Check one. I don't hear nothing in mine either.
I hear
I
them.
don't really hear myself.
I hear mine.
Is my mic on at the board is what I would say.
Hello, 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 hello.
You hear us, Eric? Check.
Yeah, I can hear you. I
I
can't.
definitely can hear you guys.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yours isn't on.
Yeah, I didn't think my mic
There
was
it
on.
is.
There we go. Testing. How's that?
Oh shit.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3.
Testes, 1, 2, 3. Check. Check one. Checkity check. I gotta turn up the actual master.
Do.
Is Armand here today?
I haven't seen him. Check 1, 2. How's that sound to you guys?
You sound
Sounds
good.
good. Sounds
Sound
good.
good, Eric?
Sounds good.
How's it sound there, streamers? He was expecting Tony to be fat.
I am.
Sorry to ruin your expectations.
Eric's face doesn't. Face
It's 'cause
doesn't
my
match his
camera
face.
wasn't. Was behind my computer.
Oh.
Eric looked very orange. You still look
Yeah.
very orange.
He's a Oompa Loompa Trumpo lover.
Yeah, you look like the dude.
My spray tan.
You look like George. What's his name?
Speaking of Trump, isn't it crazy how many people are just defending?
No, it's not.
Oh my
Oh,
lord!
boys, let's not get political.
It's not. So just
Lord.
let it go, dude.
Oh, it's cringy.
Cringy, eh?
Mm-hmm.
You know what's cringy?
What? Why don't you tell me?
Oh, that's Cringer. I was going to say He-Man's cat before it turns into Battle Cat. It's Cringer, not cringy.
Yeah, fuck, I don't remember the names like that.
Cringer.
I barely remember the cartoon.
What's up, Luar?
Hey. We doing voicemails today?
Yeah, let me take a look and see what we got here. I got to update our billing, apparently. Yeah, I don't recall. I mean, fuck, I should really mark where we finish off. Did we do this one? Hold on.
Hey guys, I've been listening for a couple months now, and I just wanted to leave y'all a voicemail.
I don't think so. How about this one?
What's up, Surreal Talk? Hey, this is Anthony from California.
I don't think so either.
No, not that one.
But I'm pretty sure we did this one.
Hey guys, Nash here from South Africa.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
we
just
did do that.
want to say
Cool, then we'll start with this one here. Whenever it's time. We got 5 of them. For a grand total of roughly 25 minutes. 5.
Lar says he loves Tony from This Day in History.
Oh, wow.
yeah, I know. We got to do a whole. We got to do a whole bunch of new ones.
You guys have been, well, particularly you, have been busier than shit lately.
Well, so is Armand with the company. So
Yeah, that's going to be tight, too, when that's done. I can't wait. I'm proud to be involved with that one. Give it a little bit more time here. Let the room fill out a bit.
Everett said that you brought this to
What's up,
his
babe?
attention, Tony.
This
You
subject.
like it? What's up with it? How'd you hear about it?
we'll save it for the show.
Yeah, save it for the
Jesus,
show, man.
Eric.
Geez, trying to
Did you
blow
ever
our
done
whole
one of
wad.
these before?
God,
No,
first timer.
Never.
Call.
I'm sorry. I thought this was Surreal Talk.
She said, I'm sorry, I thought we were in America.
Obama.
What is that off of?
South Park.
Yeah.
Celebrate Obama. Come on. It's Obama Nation. So good, man. That was a great episode. And then they arrest him. He's like, I'm sorry. I thought this was America. That's the best character, man. Randy Marsh. So funny.
I think it's great how they get away with how they do everything political and they just shit on everything and, it's all
That's
good.
the way. You got
Yeah,
to.
You have to.
If you're going to be a satirist,
I love it.
Yeah, Laura, I'm going to
You
throw
just
your
gotta-
VM up here in a bit. We didn't forget it so much as we didn't finish the episode. There's still another half of that episode we just got sitting to do. We just never had a chance to get back to it and said, fuck it, let's go on. Anyway. Sorry. I didn't mean to get all interrupting cow. Me. Tough crowd.
We didn't mention the Jedi religion either, did we?
No, but that's bullshit too.
No, it's not.
You can mark it on your fucking, in Europe, not here, but in Europe
Just
you
because
can
some asshole bureaucrat allowed it to get put on a form doesn't mean you should be able to mock religion in general by putting.
How is it not any more valid than any other religion?
it's totally
How is it not as valid?
valid.
Because at least the ones that we consider valid these days are holdovers from a time where people could, for the most part.
Stop.
Scientology.
Stop.
Do you consider Mormonism or Scientology valid? No. I consider Christianity much more
consider
valid.
them valid as-
Hinduism, Buddhism, I consider these
As
ancient
far as the
religions.
U.S. government is concerned, they are tax exempt.
As far as the U.S. government's concerned, they didn't have nothing to do with Kennedy's death. So that's not holding any fucking water with me.
Doesn't matter if it holds water with you. The guy who invented Scientology said it himself. There's two ways to get rich in this country. One is to form a religion.
Yeah.
Well, that's close to the quote. It was, you don't get rich by being a science fiction author. You get rich by starting a religion. No, you don't get rich writing science fiction. You get rich starting a religion.
He was right.
He was right.
Yeah.
But at the same time, Scientology is bullshit. Any of these new age religions like Jedi based off a fucking movie, he doesn't
How
get
is
much more.
Scientology-
Jedi is not based off a movie.
How is it not?
Jedi is based off of the Judeo-Christian historic record, which Star Wars is based off of. I've taught this.
1% of the people who write that down in that little box, if that, have any fucking clue that's the case then.
It doesn't matter if they know it's the case or not. It matters what it's based off.
And
of.
if 99% of the people who are practitioners
Dude.
of a religion don't know how it starts,
Everett.
then the religion's bullshit.
I just want to know how Christianity and Hinduism are more valid than Scientology or Mormonism or anything like that. What makes a religion more valid than another one?
They're technically
I would say
not-
tradition and, as
There you
George
go.
Costanza said, the hats.
The hats.
They've
Right.
been grandfathered in at this point. You know what I mean? You can accept it because it's always been that way and people were brought up that way. Now,
If
in this enlightened
Scientology was
age-
4,000 years old
yeah, it'd have a little bit. You can understand. Okay,
and had
this has been around.
survived,
It's bullshit. Like the belief itself is probably bullshit, but I can get how. It can
I mean,
be okay, but
No
whenever
more
you
than
create
any
some-
other one.
No, you're right. In the belief part, it could be completely bullshit, in all of them. But the way I consider it to be more viable of a religion is because it's old. There, you can understand where it came from. These new ones, they come out in the age of enlightenment.
You
You
also-
know this that science is a thing and that religion isn't really necessary. So then I consider that bullshit. And ones like Scientology, again, where you have the guy who started it saying you don't get rich fucking starting or writing science fiction. You purposely fucking started a religion to get rich. And then you got Jedi, which, despite what Tony says, the most practitioners of it, the people who check that box, have no clue that it has anything to do with.
Is the
most
Church of Satan
Christians
valid?
when they learn that their religion is stemmed from Judaism are surprised. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't.
I don't know, man. I think it does. At
Okay,
least as far as
let me
Jedi
get-
is concerned.
Is the Church of Satan valid?
Sure,
Yeah, 100%.
sure.
100%.
Yeah, I can go with that, but it's Offshoot of Christianity. Is
No,
it
no,
not?
it is because
Right, but it's its own thing. It doesn't matter. They were actually offered tax exempt status and they turned it down.
Good for them.
Yeah, I said we're fine. Go ahead. We challenged Christianity to do the same.
We got Justice in the chat here, throwing out the classic "No plane hit the Pentagon" out of left field.
Yeah. Oh.
Good to
Agreed.
know. Agreed. I mean,
Let me tell you, I taught religion. The favorite day of my class every year was Star Wars Day.
Oh, God.
After they learned enough, I would throw on A New Hope and say, you can hit pause anytime you see something that is straight out of the Bible.
Okay.
You don't make it 5 minutes into that movie before you're hitting pause.
Really?
Yep.
such as. Give me any
that
example.
guy's the devil.
Which guy?
Vader.
Vader.
Okay.
They're walking through a desert just like the apostles. This
or
guy
The
is.
droids.
This guy says he's the chosen. They think there's a chosen one, so they're all waiting a coming Messiah.
But I don't think
goes
you kn-
on and on.
I don't think
and
you know that
on.
in that movie though. In A New Hope, do they even use Chosen One in that movie?
No, that's.
but-
But they're
It's the kid who will be the one who has the power.
right.
You, know what
You
I mean?
get a feeling right away that Luke is.
But you can put that towards
He's a
any
New
movie,
Hope.
really, with it's any epic. You can almost
Well, because all epics have a foundation out of those stories. They do.
I mean, that's fair. But I would say even those stories probably have a foundation from something more ancient that we don't even know about.
Well, they have from an oral tradition, sure.
fair.
Yeah. They do.
There's like an Egyptian god that's 6,000 years old, Horus, that shares like tons of similarities with Jesus Christ, and a lot of people think that they basically copied this religion and just took all the shit.
Well, they
from it.
moved the December 25th as a direct.
Yeah.
That's a move. You know.
virgin birth, all that. Let me find out that.
But there's virgin birth is you can find virgin birth in every ancient culture. It's just a thing.
yeah, of course.
It's just a thing. And what you got to ask yourself about matters of faith is who benefits. In
I mean,
Scientology,
you look for the person who benefits, and there's your guy.
there's your guy, man. It's simple. Who benefits?
It's funny.
If the religion benefits a guy like Joel Osteen or L. Ron Hubbard, you got to question it.
Yeah.
Which Joel Osteen's Christian though, right? What is he?
He's prosperity Christian.
Okay, what's the difference there?
God wants you to be rich.
I want to be a prosperity Christian then.
But he doesn't. Wow.
He is. He parks his Ferrari right outside the old NBA arena that he bought.
Yeah, it's fucking huge. I've seen the pictures.
Yeah. His
a
church
giant-
is the Summit where
What-
the Houston Rockets
What's
used
bigger,
to play.
his church or his teeth? Ting.
Oh, don't make fun of Joel's teeth. He can't help it.
I know he can't,
Those
but it's
veneers
fun to
only
me.
come in certain sizes.
Yeah.
Are we going to do the show or?
We're waiting for the crowd to fill in.
The crowd's
Pretty much
here.
there. They're pretty much here. You guys ready then? You want to
Yeah,
start it?
Let's
All right.
go. That's false, Eric Light Peach tells me. What is? I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong because whatever I say could totally be false, but I don't know
Well,
what
I
you're
could be-
referring to.
I could be off based on the definition of prosperity Christianity.
You guys ready?
You're listening to Surreal Talk, a look inside the world of cults, conspiracies, and the paranormal.
Something's not right, man. Something's not right. Something's bullshit here, and I don't believe it.
Honestly, this crazy shit could be completely possible.
Disclaimer, we reserve the right to be wrong, ladies and gentlemen.
Ain't that
You think you know the whole story? Think again.
Now your hosts, Eric and Everett.
Welcome to Surreal Talk, a look inside the world of cults, conspiracies, and the paranormal, a lineupmedia.fm production, and we are back. Seems like it's been a while.
It has. It's been almost 2 weeks.
Jesus.
Why?
I don't know why.
Well, last week we went to DreamHack. That's
Yeah.
why.
We had shit to do.
We were in Atlanta last Friday. We had to take and drive. That was like a 10-hour drive. And before that, we were on last week with, what was it? God, it's been so long. The kooky religious phenomena, or not phenomena, fucking what are they called? Rituals.
Yeah, rituals.
So that was that. We were supposed to finish that show. Never could get in the studio and find a time whenever it wasn't booked when we were open. So we still got another half of that show sitting basically ready to go outlined, and we'll get around to it one of these days. But this week, we're back and we're doing a show on the Akashic Record, which was something I had never heard of.
You want to do the voicemails real quick?
We will. I just want to kind of intro here, if you don't mind. Is that fine?
No, yeah, go ahead.
Well, are you sure? I don't want to fuck up your groove.
No, yeah, you better go ahead and do the voicemails.
All right, then we'll get around to it then. All right, then, voicemails. Here we go. We got 5 of them this week. First one comes from Maddie. That's probably going to be too loud.
Hey guys, I've been listening
Hey.
for a couple months now, and I just wanted
right
to
on.
leave y'all a voicemail letting you know how much I love your show.
Dope.
Thank you.
I deliver out in Texas, and y'all are really entertaining to listen to whenever I'm driving around. Team Armand, and go fuck yourself, Everett.
Yeah.
Damn it.
The first one stings, but the second one made it better.
Yeah, did it?
Yeah.
Now, the first one hurt, and the second one, I'm kind of getting indifferent to it, I like them, though. Add that to the list for the song,
Next one.
which I don't have enough for that song, so it's going to be in a while.
How long is it?
It's still sitting at just over a minute. I don't have enough to really carry it out without getting really repetitive.
So Everett needs those fuck you Everett voicemails.
Anyway, here we go. This one's from Oscar.
Hey man, I heard you're making a song. I just wanted to say,
God.
fuck you, Everett. Chinga tu madre, cabrón.
Okay, thank you for that. Didn't see that one coming.
No.
I guess I should have. 7 seconds long. You're not getting a lot of quality.
Yeah,
shit
it's
inside
not a
7
deep
seconds.
thought there.
All right, here's a long-time caller, first-time listener. No, that's not right. James in Sydney. He's called a bunch of times. Here we go, James.
Hey fellas, what's going on? It's your boy James from Sydney.
What up, James?
I
Hi.
just wanted to call in today, and I just want to make a few distinctions, clarify a few things.
Oh, what did we fuck up?
I'm definitely Team Eric, 100%.
Yeah, that's right.
But I feel like that team is coached by Armand.
Oh.
So it's Team Eric, Coach Armand.
Wow.
And Everett,
I mean,
of
here it
course,
comes.
I got love for you.
Oh, phew.
But you can just go ahead and fuck the fuck off. And when you get there,
3 in a
continue
row.
to fuck off some more, motherfucker.
Yeah. Gosh.
Fuck you.
Fuck you. Yes.
Bitch.
Wow.
That was good.
3 in a row. Okay. Kind of scared. We got 2 more in a row, both of them from Loire. So here we go.
You guys heard about the religion of the dude from
Yes.
the Big Lebowski movie?
For sure.
All right, I'm pausing it right there. We were talking about this before the show. We might as well talk about it now, just for a minute. It's a bullshit religion. Same with Jedi. Tony says that Jedi is based on what?
Jedi?
Yeah, Jedi.
Yeah, it's based on the Judeo-Christian record. It's an Abrahamic faith extent. All of Star Wars is based on the Abrahamic faiths.
Yeah, I still think it's bullshit, though.
Okay, yeah, no. What?
I mean,
you
it's
have
not
nothing to back
Christianity.
that
Well,
up.
It's like I can make.
But go ahead.
Well, let me put it like this, and I can go out and create any religion, call it Smithytons.
Smithytons.
And it's based on a guy, a woman. We'll just change the entire thing to be a female-based version of the Bible, and now my religion is valid because
Yes.
it's based off of the Bible.
Yes.
I think Jesus was a woman named Smithingtons. Now it's valid because it's quite obvious that's what it's based on. 'Cause
No,
that's
you're not.
basically
But it's not based on that.
Sure.
Sorry, no, it's not.
Just
Wait a minute.
as
So
much as Star
here's the
Wars
question. Here's the question. Did
No,
George
no.
Lucas ever come out and say he wrote those stories based on the Judeo-Christian belief? That's the issue, because George Lucas wrote those, and if he's come out and said that,
Invented the Jedi.
I'm more than invented the Jedi, 100% invented the Jedi, and I'm more than willing to get behind that. If George Lucas has come
I
out
don't
somewhere
know.
and said,
I mean, if only there were a machine, Eric, where you could type something in and look this up.
Bird.
"Damn, whatever you be referring to."
Hey, I don't know if we said anything
Let
on
me
the
look.
on the podcaster yet, but in with us in studio this week is Tony Hubert, one of the hosts of Armand's other show, This Day in
No,
History.
my other show that Armand is on.
Well, Armand's other show he's off and on. Tony's other show,
Yes.
This Day in History, which is pretty great. How can we find that show, Tony?
This Day in History podcast.com. That's our website. You can go to it. You can simply go to lineupmedia.fm as well and find all the shows, of course. But our website, thisdayinhistorypodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook, facebook.com / This Day in History. Twitter, History Podcast. We've been dormant for a while because Armand and I both have separate projects, and we're incredibly busy.
I feel
And that
you,
show
bro.
takes about 90 minutes of just studio time a day to plus
get in
prep
and-
time to
right.
produce.
Yeah,
So it's a good 3-hour commitment per day to do it right. And Armand is detailed, so normally we are doing it right.
Luckily, you guys got about half of a year of random dates in
we
the
do.
can. So
We're going to
that's
get
good.
all 365 in, and then we're going to shift it into something slightly different where we go with a specific event.
Oh, that'd be cool.
And really sort of unpack it.
Which would be great because that's where you guys really shine. Is not just the random on this day. Whenever you can pick out an event that you're interested
Yeah.
in and just hit it.
And the other things that I think the show's really good at is entertainment and just sort of Armand's encyclopedic knowledge of actors, actresses, directors, writers.
And his unapologetic nature doesn't hurt, or his view on these things. That's
His view on film prior to 1970 is great. Post 1970, it's horseshit. Yeah, I don't think
That's why I
he's
love
seen a
listening to
movie.
you guys. I
I
mean,
don't
you
think
guys
he's
are fun.
seen a movie since 1970.
He has. He just
He
he
won't cop
monster
to it.
or a
Like he thinks.
gangster in
I
it.
think he thinks The Departed is stupid.
Oh well, that's
Something
that's bad.
or he can't watch Goodfellas.
Come on, that's just. I'm gonna have to go talk to Armand about
Yeah,
that.
you need to straighten him out on a few things.
But anyway, back to what we were talking about. These made up religions. I think anything that's been made up.
It's not made up.
So hang on.
I mean,
Clarification here. He did draw religious parallels in his works, not to Christianity though, to Buddhism. So he's been quoted saying in an interview with Time magazine that he draws a lot of parallels to how Buddhists work in the same way that like the Jedi are selfless and
Yes.
don't want to harm anybody. All
Good.
they want to do is help. So he says yes, there's definite religious parallels, but they're to Buddhism.
Look, the Force for any Christian who would watch
Is God.
No, it's not.
Well, what is it then?
The Force is the Holy Spirit.
Oh. Same thing though.
I don't get.
I don't know about the
difference.
trilogy thing.
Same thing, right? Though, like
Well, yeah, they're all part of the. Yeah, you mean that is a Christian thing. The trilogy, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, all being one. That's a mystery. It's called a Paschal mystery.
yeah, no,
You cannot explain how it is.
right? No, it's a rough one.
There is no explanation of how it is. It's just a matter of faith. All right, continue. So it is based on actual religion.
Just because it's based on an actual religion doesn't make it more valid than the original, or as valid as the original.
I'm not saying as valid, but it makes it as valid as Scientology.
Well, none of them are super valid anyway. If we're talking about a bunch of stories made up by man.
If you want to talk about scientific proof, no, they're not.
But if you want to talk about, you can, like you said before we were on the pre-show, the tradition of Christianity or Buddhism or any of these ancient religions, I would say you could kind of understand the time when these were invented and the need to invent these. You don't need to invent a religion these days.
You can't tell somebody that their belief in a certain thing is less valid than someone else's belief in a completely
That's
different
exactly
thing.
what I
Whether
can
this
do
guy
as an
believes it, you can, as an opinion, you can, but you can't sit here and say that like overall this religion is less valid than this one. Why? Because it's not as old.
I can do that. 'cause
This
that's
guy
my
believes
opinion.
in that.
Well, then I'm saying he's a fucking psycho. Well, not a psycho, an asshole. To put it,
well, now
So-
I know
so
why
is
a lot
that-
of people
okay,
aren't on Team Everett.
There's the fuck Everett right there. So
There-
is everybody-
now I know why.
Is everybody that's a Christian or a Jewish person or a Buddhist are they assholes?
no, but
No, because the religion's older. They're not an asshole.
the way they were brought into
yeah, but
listen, the
in
guy who-
Everett's world, to the Egyptian who came before them, they would be.
No. What I'm saying is
That's right. The Egyptians
guys-
are like these Christian
those
assholes.
I'd say the people who were with Jesus in those days, they were assholes. You know, the first people who accepted Christianity and became it, they were assholes. It's just come up now, and this is what we're going to believe. It's the same thing to a guy who goes, I like the Star Wars movies. I really like the way the Force and all that shit works. I'm going to make that my religion because I think I like the way that goes.
Everett, what I'm
You're an
saying
asshole.
is,
you're a fucking asshole.
In a secular world today, where
Same thing with Church of the Dude.
where most kids are not in a religious affiliated school, do not go to church regularly, and are not, they're just not steeped in the tradition that maybe parents or grandparents of us, people our age, 30s, 40s, were. They will always find a replacement. I caught on right away in the Star Wars trilogy that this was acting as a replacement for religion, because a lot of kids were like, man, I relate to this Jedi thing.
Well,
Not that I'm going to be able to summon a lightsaber and pull it through the air, but I relate to the notion of of being all things connected.
And that's perfect. That's exactly my next point then. I think what my problem is not with the belief in it, it's calling it a religion rather than believing in a philosophy, a way of thinking and a way of life, rather than this is a religion. You know what I mean? That's an asshole part.
Religion is
put that kind of importance and dogmatic bullshit on
religion is bureaucratic dogma.
Exactly my point.
Okay, yeah, but so the word isn't very good. If you want to substitute faith or philosophy,
that's fine.
Or belief,
but it doesn't need to be a checkbox on an official government form.
Ben Hanna in the chat says he got the army to accept the Jedi religion on his tags.
Yeah.
Good for him.
As a joke, he goes on to say there.
Well, that's right.
That further cements my point that it's a religion for people who are assholes and want to take advantage of a system or think it's funny.
The system, that's a different argument, though, Everett. The system making these businesses tax exempt
is bullshit.
Is a huge problem, and it's bullshit.
Yeah, it's definitely.
Pay your taxes. When the fire, look, when a church of anything burns down,
but that's not the point, though.
The fire department's going to come, right?
Right.
Well, who paid for that?
We taxpayers, anybody, yeah.
Yeah, everybody did. So pay your fair share,
totally
just
agree.
like any other business, even if your business is a nonprofit.
I don't disagree with you at all, but my whole point was
for-profit.
Not for,
as the basis of calling something a religion, Jedi and any of these other really ultra new, based off of more or less a fantasy project, even though if that fantasy was based on a current religion, are less valid religions. They could perfectly find philosophies, but as a religion, I find it to be bullshit and very just.
Well, yeah, because they don't have a bureaucratic, dogmatic assembly.
That's not why I consider it to be bullshit, but...
Well, even Christians had to get together at Council of Nicaea and things like this and start to codify the stuff.
And I agree, and those people back then were pretty much assholes. Well, that's just my thought.
So if you were around in the... Well, I just wanted to get something that you said earlier
He
straight.
would have been crucified already.
100%. Yeah, no, he's on the hill. The
Heretic.
Romans got his ass. Yeah. But if you followed Jesus, if you're an apostle, you're an asshole?
Yeah, I'd say those first generation apostles.
Oh, you're crazy.
Big fucking asshole.
Because
you're believing
just
a guy
crazy.
that says he's turning water to wine. The same rules that hold true now held true then.
Hang on, but if you believe
I'm so
in that,
glad we got this topic today.
Hang on, but if you believe in that shit today, you're not an asshole.
You're a different type of asshole.
Oh, okay.
Oh, there's degrees.
You're a different type of asshole.
There's degrees,
You're a poor
Eric.
bastard these days. You're what I would call a poor bastard.
Oh, Lord.
Like an innocent poor bastard, if you truly believe that. I would argue that those people back in the day were assholes to the fact they were taking advantage of people. Okay. I don't know that for a fact, but I know anybody starting a religion now or then
maybe those
probably are fucking full of shit and want your money.
Hey, maybe those assholes witnessed or were part of a transcendent experience.
Yeah, they probably found some good mushrooms is what they were transcendent about.
Or maybe they tapped into today's show topic.
They may have.
I suggested to you guys a couple
Perfect
weeks
seg
ago.
there, Tony. Perfect seg there. Oh, actually, let's finish up.
No, I want to hear the rest of this email or voicemail.
So say, let's finish that up and then we'll get into the topic. Anyway, I'm actually going to restart it because we fucking went on a hell of a rant there, or I did.
You guys heard about the religion of the dude from the Big Lebowski movie?
Rings a bell.
Great movie.
It is a great movie. One of the best.
They have their own website here.
That's just like your
Dudism.com.
Dudism.
Looks all official and whatnot.
What was it
their
again?
own website here. Dudism.com.
Dudism.com.
Looks all official and whatnot.
Yeah,
Even the dude in the Big Lebowski, in half the movie, is dressed like an apostle.
I mean, that's fair and all. The dude was most definitely an asshole. He didn't realize it. He was just a different type of asshole than the fucking. Tell me he wasn't.
No,
how was he
not.
an asshole? What did he do that was an asshole?
The dude abides. He abides.
Of course, the aggression will not stand.
This aggression will not stand.
You know what
that is the same message that they're telling the Romans 2,000 years ago.
The best
and they're saying,
I just want to put out there, I am king asshole though. I'm not a butter in any of these people.
Herod and you Romans, this aggression, man.
The best part about was he was watching the news, and I think that was George Bush or Reagan, one of the two on the TV that said it, and he was like, and he walks right into that office, and he's like, "This aggression will not stand." He got it, directly
Bush.
off the TV. Was it Bush, right?
Yeah, about Kuwait, and it was at the very beginning of the movie when he was buying.
The dude wears
half
sandals.
and half of the check.
The dude wears sandals. What do the apostles wear?
Yeah, sandals. You're right.
If the apostles had a mixed drink, I'm sure it would have been a White Russian. Some goat's milk and whatever alcohol they could get a hold of.
I dig the dude's philosophy, but he was pretty much a layabout loaf asshole. Everybody's
smoked
an
a lot of
asshole.
pot.
Everybody's an asshole.
I disagree. He bowled. He rolled, except on Saturday.
Sunday.
But you can be a much worse person than him. I'll tell you that.
Dude's
So
fine.
asshole.
We need more dudes in this world. Is what we need.
We need more Walters. Walter made the movie. Walter was.
Oh no, we got enough Walters.
No
we got
shit.
enough Walters running
all
around
voted
this
for
Excuse
crazy
me, Tone. Crier restraint has been out. Anyway, we got one more from the UR.
Did you hear Tony's story, Everett? Then you have no frame of reference here, right?
I'm like a little kid wandering into a conversation. All right, here we go.
Oh, and yeah, I forgot to tell you guys. Team Armand.
And nobody's
bated
perfect.
breath for a fuck Everett there. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot to say. Here it comes. I guess I'm just really self-important there, waiting, thinking it's about me. But
Yeah.
Team Armand. I'm gonna have to go with Team Armand from now on too. It's better than Team Eric.
Wow.
Anyway, to the Akashic Record. What is the Akashic Record, Eric?
It's
In your understanding.
It's like a record of all of the thoughts, actions, words ever spoken. It's everything that's ever happened in human history by everyone and anyone.
plus intent.
Oh, intent too. Yeah. Oh.
Well, you said thoughts.
Yeah. Well. Okay. Yeah. So
Thoughts,
intent is
emotions, events, possibilities for events, futures that may never happen. I mean, the Akashic Record it's amazing. Imagine, let's try to quantify this for what it is to people. Out in the ether, the fifth through 10th dimensions, depending on which video you watch, exist a repository of all, as we just said, human thoughts and emotions and actions and events and anything ever done.
Right.
Does it exist as a physical place? No. Does it exist as books and physical volumes? No.
It's a big old book.
It's a big old book. It's got an infinite number of pages. But no, that's the gist of it, though. Tony, where did you first hear about the Akashic Record? Because you brought it up to us.
Yeah, no, I had heard about it before, just in passing
Yeah.
on different shows. But about, I guess it was 3 weeks ago, I'm watching The Ancient Aliens on History, and
It's a good show.
yeah,
I've never
sometimes-
once watched it.
Sometimes you might be better off having never, because sometimes
so.
it's really pseudo science.
Oh yeah. Well, that's 80% of the time. I
Right.
say it's pseudoscience.
But
80.
occasionally they touch on something that is truly unexplainable.
Mm-hmm.
And so they were talking about how did the geniuses of this world, the Newtons, Da Vinci, Einstein, Tesla, how did they come up with these inspirations? You know, one theory, of course, is, okay, all your combined knowledge that you've learned over the course of your lifetime to that point informs your perception, and it will inform something, you know, that you imagine. However, that's not what a lot of these guys have actually said about their process. Einstein, all these experiments were thought experiments.
Right.
Okay. He would sit and think these out. Newton, the classic tale of sitting under the tree, the apple
Right.
falls, right? Okay. So they said, really, when you have this sort of, and musicians and artists too, this applies to Bach, Mozart, Van Gogh, painters who have basically, and Mozart himself, I think, was quoted as once saying, "I'm just taking dictation from God. It just comes through me and goes down to the pen to the paper."
That's cool. I didn't know that.
So the proposition, I guess, was, are these geniuses because they're somehow able to connect with or dial themselves into what's known as the Akashic Record?
I mean, it's certainly a possibility. I mean, where does inspiration come from? Honestly.
And think about it yourself. Have you ever just, and everybody listening, not just you and Eric, Everett and Eric, but have you ever had a thought or a memory just pop into your head and you're like, where did that come from?
All the time.
Oh yeah.
I mean, almost all my thoughts are that way.
Well,
In and out.
Right. I mean, they might be. But certainly, like, if you think about, and here's the example I'd like to give. If you think about Da Vinci, like, dreaming up the helicopter.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Okay, so, what inspired that? Now, maybe he had been fooling around in his studio in his lab with enough things to know that, maybe if I took a piece of paper and bent it in a certain way and moved air over it, I could get some lift. Well, that's totally possible.
Right. But the odds.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to discount it, but I also, is there something in the ethereal plane out there that suddenly he's able to draw from?
Right, especially whenever we don't have any in-between drawings. You know what I mean?
When suddenly it's just like I'm watching a bird and then helicopter.
Exactly my point, because his previous inventions look like birds, and then out of nowhere, complete shift.
Naturally,
where did
they
that
would
come
look
from?
like birds.
Right. That's what you have.
That's what you have to copy.
Right.
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, that's really interesting. Then they explained the Akashic Record is, and it gets really deep. And what it gets into basically is quantum mechanics.
Yeah.
Now, you really need, and I'll be Team Armand here for this, you really need Armand to explain quantum mechanics and strange entanglement.
Sure, quantum entanglement, right?
Yeah, he does a good job of it.
Spooky action at a distance.
Spooky action at a distance, right? That all things are related. You do, if you get down to a particle and it's split, you do something to it here, the equal and opposite reaction will happen to that particle, even if it's in another galaxy, is the theory.
Instantly.
Simultaneously.
Right.
Meaning that information could be sent simultaneously as well. No 8-minute delay and radio lag and things like that. So, as they were explaining this, I was like, wow, because if we think of, okay, our thoughts, it takes energy to generate a thought, some type of energy.
Yeah. Your brain uses more energy than anything in your body, right?
Yeah, I mean,
25% or something?
And if you think of, I've heard before that energy, just one of the, I think it was from a Brian Greene book, those are pretty good books, by the way, to check out.
Check them out.
Because they deal with those dimensions, as you were saying, 5 through 10.
5 through 10, right.
Yeah. And string theory, things like that.
The dimensions I'm referring to aren't the same ones from string theory. They're from some video that some crazy lady was talking about this. I only call her crazy because I have no way to know how she could come to the conclusion these other dimensions exist. But anyway,
I don't know.
But her video is really good. I'll reference it here in a bit.
But just think about if you could see just the tiniest bit of energy out there.
Sure.
That energy contains some type of information, right?
I mean, technically, what if it's static?
But isn't the static something?
I mean, a jumble of information, I would say.
I mean, I don't know. This is where I don't know. This is where it gets to the quantum mechanic level. But just go ahead for the sake of argument and assume that, okay, everything that's ever happened is still accessible.
Right.
If you can dial in, tune into it, get on the right frequency. And that means you can draw from all this knowledge. And
I can't even imagine.
It's an interesting way to think of, okay, maybe that's how it's just a fun way to think, maybe that's how the geniuses got to be geniuses. They were able to tap in.
I'd have to wonder, though, if it was any type of conscious tapping, or was it more or less like they bumped into it at kind of like an intersection of their conscious mind and the Akashic Record or whatever this knowledge repository is, and they just had that inspiration. That's kind of where inspiration might come from, is just a simple, quick crossing of no in particular place inside or record inside there.
Yeah.
They just happen to access it. That I can kind of at least make sense with.
I think I can wrap my brain around that.
Yeah, because I think if anyone could fully access it, they're, you know what I mean?
Well, think about the mechanics
I think
of
if
that.
you could fully access it, you'd be very dangerous.
Well, yes.
Obviously.
Let's look at, it's impossible to even understand how that data could be cataloged. Think about how we think of data in a spreadsheet type of sense. You have categories of information across the top and across the left-hand side in a grid format. But whenever you think of the Akashic Record,
I don't think there's a Dewey Decimal System for the Akashic
Record. It's way too three-dimensional, even fourth-dimensional when you throw in time.
Yeah.
Shit happens. Not only that, you throw in the next level of it, like you have the same thing for every person that exists now, that has ever existed, and every version of them and every reality exists all in that same Akashic Record. So to access that, how could you sit here as a three-dimensional being and understand how you think of reality and go, I need to concentrate and access like a multi-dimensional array of information?
Our brains aren't they're not made to do shit like that. You know what I mean? But
our heads
would explode.
On the same time, it's if it is possible, maybe there are people out there who have a way to be in tune with it and they don't understand it, or maybe they do. I'd have to wonder how they could actually understand what they're doing, but have figured a way in a caveman-like sense to stumble through in an almost useful manner through this record. That I can kind of buy. That could be what your psychics are and things like that. Tapping into these thoughts of people that have existed or will exist and being able to understand it in a certain way. You know, their brains are maybe slightly different than ours.
Well, do you both subscribe or at least have heard of, you know, you generate a thought. That thought is transmitted through space-time just because it took energy to generate it. So,
well, I believe that our thoughts are electrochemical, and
But does that create some type of radio wave?
Yeah, electrochemical process. If it's electromagnetic, even as small as it is, there has to be a field created. And too many times have I thought of something and my wife picked up on it for me not to believe there isn't some sort of field with your thoughts. You know what I mean? It's not quantifiable. It's one of the few things that science can't quantify that I feel like, yeah, man, there's enough times I've noticed something weird that.
Oh, no, that's why if you've got a friend for life, they
call it being on the same wavelength.
Well, they do because it's actually a good term. But if you got a guy or your wife, anyone you're close to, if you've been around long enough, other people will go, man, you guys communicate non-verbally.
Yeah.
And I got a couple, but my wife, when she first met my best friend, Matt Brown, she's like, Jesus, you guys have your own language. And half of the time you're not saying anything. I'm like, yeah, well, I know what he's thinking.
Is that a familiarity, or do you think you guys are actually using something like
I don't know.
Record?
That's what I wonder.
I would say that's what we're closer to a familiarity. You've been around somebody long enough to where you've had the same social cues.
Yeah, but you're saying informed hypothesis.
Right.
There can be times when
I can make a look
when my wife will turn to me and she goes, you know what I'm thinking? And I'll be like, yeah, you're thinking about such and such. And she'll be like, oh, my God.
Yeah. Now
you could – that happens to all of us.
Right. I wonder if that is because we go through the same experiences day in and day out and have the same reactions to stimuli. You know what I mean? Like something on TV happened, a commercial happened, subconsciously that it triggered both of our subconsciouses in the same way.
Yeah.
To where we both went down a thought path, ended up in the same place.
Yeah.
Because of your life experiences.
Right.
You
Our
go down
commonalities.
the same thought path. Yeah, I get you on that.
I mean, that's the one way to quantify, but again, it could be the wavelength issue where we're actually broadcasting, whether it's through the RF of our electrochemical process, or if there is indeed, in fact, a record out there that our consciousness is constantly streaming back and forth with, and your signals get crossed. I mean,
that's where I'm kind of with you, E, here is I do think we're all broadcasting at some tiny level, but that broadcast energy can neither be created or destroyed.
That's what they say.
Right?
It can be transferred.
So we're transferring energy into another sort of, I hate to say realm, but we're certainly transferring energy into another mode.
Sure.
And if that mode can be tapped into, it becomes really interesting. Now, how you do that, and like you said, is it like going through your windows on your computer? Okay, a file. Okay, that's in Drive D. And I open this file.
Yeah, I don't think it's that simple.
It's not. So I like the idea of someone who got to the because I think it's a subconscious thing because there's meditation involved here. I believe Einstein's thought experiments were basically a meditation.
Yeah.
You know, on the show how we've hypothesized before that consciousness doesn't exist inside your head; it exists in a separate plane, and more or less your thought processes are being back and forth. So whenever you finally leave this physical body or reignite or what's the word when you brought back together? Reunited. Sorry, God.
Yeah.
Reunited with your consciousness where it actually exists. What if your consciousness does exist in the Akashic Record? And not only how you are able to access it is you're not at that point in time constrained to only experiencing reality through your physical body. You're actually able to be like where your consciousness is for a moment, and your consciousness is already always entangled with the other consciousnesses in the record.
Yeah, because when I did a lot of this research, it was like astral projection and a lot of that. So that reason people were getting there,
the Akashic plane, as it's called through
exactly.
A lot of this, right?
Yeah, meditation, prayer, deep thought, just concentration. You know what I mean?
Is one way to access it.
Well, let me tell you, because the religious aspect is interesting, but prayer is meditation.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Or I should say proper prayer. Now, look, if you want to go and recite something, Our Father, that's fine.
What it all is what you're saying is a mechanic.
But it's, look how the Buddhist and Eastern religions reduce the mechanic to chanting one word.
Om?
Well, because if you're just going to say the words of a prayer and not really concentrate on them, it's just becoming rote.
Yeah,
and but why not just reduce all that to one word and try to get yourself
to where it's not about the word, it's about the state of mind.
Yeah, to where you're at some different level. Now, is that tapping into the Akashic plane?
Could be. I mean, again, the Akashic plane is so named. You can look on Wikipedia and get the first people to use the words for it. It's the idea. I think that's what we're talking about today. It's not the specific Akashic record or the Akashic plane, because, again, this thought is made up by a man, somebody, or a man or a woman. I don't mean like specifically gendered, but a person.
You bigot.
Yeah. It's made up by a person. The same with any other bullshit-ass religion where they came up with a name and a word to quantify their thought of how something might work. But the concept behind it, I find completely fascinating. So
this is a fascinating one.
I think if anyone were close to having what you need to access this out of any of the religions on earth, it has to be the Buddhist. You know what I mean? Like, I would feel like they're the closest to enlightenment, or like if God was
the Shaolin monks and those people over there who can really. I mean, that's almost the same thing, isn't it? Are Shaolin Buddhists? They are Buddhists. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
You're thinking like a Shinto, in Japan, or
no? I was thinking Shaolin, but I'm an asshole and forgot they were Buddhist.
Yeah, that's a.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, that's like the Thai, Cambodian, Vietnamese.
Sure.
Versus maybe the Hindu of India,
right.
The Nepalese, But even your Abrahamic faiths, Christianity, Judaism, Islam, they're all looking for enlightenment. That is the end goal.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's missed in those faiths, grossly missed, but that is the end goal. I mean, there's even people out there who write pretty eloquently about the parallels between Buddhism and Christianity. Mm-hmm. So, wipe those aside for a second. Just think about, getting to that enlightenment. However, whatever car you want to ride to enlightenment in, that's just your denomination of religion.
A little off the subject, but have you read about how those guys can like regulate their body temperature and their heartbeat? Some of those Buddhist monks. That's just insane, dude. Like that's crazy to me how they can regulate their heartbeat and their body temperature. Like, what in the hell?
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And because I'm guessing that's been verified scientifically by measurement, reducing your heart rate to, I don't know, 50 beats per minute.
I don't know what the exact number is, but it's a legit.
I mean, all of us can reduce our heartbeat. It's taking it to the level they do.
Right, taking it to the level they do, exactly. Like they can go outside in a freezing winter and wrap a wet cover around them and create steam. They can make their body so hot out there that they can dry. It's insane. It really is. Like, this is video documented. Like, I mean, it's not disputed anywhere.
Did you read much into the whole purpose of the Akashic Record for teaching a soul life lessons? So your consciousness, your soul, your being that exists in the Akashic Record, you exist forever, and your purpose is just to eventually become enlightened again. But you have, as you're going throughout your existences, you have a lesson that you need to be being learned. It could be patience, for instance, something as simple as patience. You've always got a primary life lesson you're learning, and it might take you several lifetimes to learn it. You've got a secondary life lesson. So once you accomplish your primary, your secondary becomes your primary, and now your life experiences now are all tailored to get you to learn that lesson. Everything that happens to you in your life is to get you to learn your primary life lesson. You'll see this in a lot of the research for the Akashic Record.
Yeah, you will. And I mean, that's quite a bit of Hindu and Buddhist in there.
Right. It's a good thing to
you're reincarnated until you get it right, to put it bluntly.
Well, which comes in the major bullshit of the Akashic Record is as soon as you start to do research on this, you're going to come across so many people, 1 million people out there on the internet trying to sell you ways to access the Akashic Record or a service to access it for you, to tell you what your lesson is, to tell you what your purpose in life is.
To pay $19.95 a month?
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
That's the problem I have with this right now is the Akashic Record as it sits for the most part is another scam that your Miss Cleos out there are purporting to get, for lack of a better term, weak-minded people to give them money.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's always snake oil salesmen.
Right.
Whether the snake oil is in a little bottle or in the ethereal plane.
And that's why I say the research on the Akashic Record, take it with a grain of salt, because these are all people trying to sell you a service. They're coming up with these reasons that this exists to make it to a point where now you need to have a reason for this service to exist.
Yeah.
So be careful. But again, the concept of the Akashic Record is fucking great.
Let me get to the interpretations that you and Eric put down. By the way,
Sure.
folks, these sheets that these guys put together for this show is phenomenal.
Yeah, I wish we used it all.
You ought to post these online for.
We have every one we've ever did too.
Yeah,
So.
we do.
Have you ever posted them though?
No.
You ought to give them to your audience.
It's a thought. Just let them out there.
Yeah,
There's fucking thousands of pages of shit we put together.
But here's like the different interpretations on this
What you got?
Akashic Record. Well, it's what you got. It's what you put down. Humans are connected on some metaphysical level or quantum level or spiritual level. Is that through the Akashic Records or the Akashic plane or the Akashic field?
Or is it just through some, whatever you call it, is it the Akashic Record or some other field?
Well, here, let me proffer this. Are metaphysical, quantum, and spiritual levels all the same level?
Fuck, maybe. We don't. I mean,
mean,
theoretically, I guess they could be.
Depends.
Why
Is
wouldn't
that
they be?
the unified
Can you have
field?
multiple? Can you have multiple infinites existing at the same time? It's the same question. You know what I mean? Is it the same thing or is it not the same thing? How could you have more than one of everything? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? It's like
I'm trying to think of an analogy. The only thing I can think of is like you get an original videotape and then you dub it for a friend and they dub it for a friend and they dub it for a friend.
Sure.
Now, it's all the same material in terms of what's being shown, but every tape is now different.
Sure.
But they're existing simultaneously. But
makes
they're all
sense.
slightly changed.
That makes sense. And again, that's one thing you hear about the Akashic Record is there's every possibility exists as not only things that have happened or things that possibly could happen.
Yeah, like if you look at a decision tree, you know,
Yep.
Yeah.
and how rapidly a decision tree branches out.
Oh, that's another cool thing. I heard people who have the ability to access the Akashic Record, they can look and see these possible permeations of the timelines and instantly look at the end of a timeline's permeations. So like right now, you can look and see what your choices are, your possibilities, pick one, and see how it turns out. Like all the way at the end, follow it down.
So
That's
you get a
insane.
choose your own adventure book where you can flip right to the back and see the outcome.
So they say, but I say if anyone ever really had that ability, they would rule the world.
Well, that's the scary part, right? I
Right.
mean, that's why maybe we're denied this access.
That's a good point. I mean, if there is somebody who created it, it'd be smart to deny it to somebody who can't understand
Well,
it.
if you're talking about a supreme being, which we can't even comprehend a supreme being,
Is the Akashic Record the supreme being itself?
that's kind of what I wonder.
Is it God itself, and all of our consciousness stem from this one? Like maybe God isn't a individual as we think.
Well,
of
see,
it.
I've never subscribed to that.
That God is an individual.
One of the first things you got to get away from, and I beg people of this, quit thinking of whatever God is as the gray bearded man sitting in a chair in the sky. Stop.
Right.
Yeah, that's
Stop. You're doing yourself and everyone around you
It's the same thing as
a
looking at the
horrible
Akashic Record like a
disservice.
library.
Yeah, you can't look at that like a library or a
Right.
book. Yeah, it's not that.
That God isn't a man. God is more like a force, I would say, than a.
It's a supreme being.
an
It
entity.
defies.
Force.
Isn't an entity in the same effect?
Maybe. I mean, yeah. But these are the great questions of all time.
Right.
I mean,
we
we turn surreal talk into philosophical.
We
talk.
do this every time. Time.
I do like this one. Meditation, widely regarded as the best way to access the Akashic Record. Prayer is also used for this. I say prayer and meditation should be the same thing.
Most of the time synonymous, yeah.
This next one, Everett, Eric, I love. On a quantum level, time doesn't really exist.
That was me.
I have always believed this since I've had an inkling of
Sure.
understanding.
So just our description of change.
Here, it is a man-made vehicle to record movement generated by forces of physics.
In three-dimensional
Everett and
space.
I have talked about this. If there's nothing that happens in a certain, and the only way you can save a certain period of time. So, but like if there's no molecules, particles,
Say
or
in a Planck
anything
second.
moving,
If
there's
nothing happens in a Planck second.
There's no time.
I mean, if you don't have a need to describe it,
if it is
why bother?
devoid of all forces, gravitational, whatever other forces might be out there, then it doesn't exist. And that's why from astronomers to all sorts of scientists, that's why they talk about space-time as one thing. I proffer it this way. I've always asked people, if you believe that time has no beginning and time has no ending, where are we on the timeline of all things?
Well, that's, looking at time as, linear.
Right. So look at it as linear. Go ahead and look at it as linear. No, to the left, no beginning. To the right, no
So what
end.
you're saying is,
where are we on the timeline?
Equal as much as happened before as has happened before as will happen after.
Yeah. So where does that put us?
In your 100-year
Right
span.
in the middle.
It will always put you right in the middle. Therefore, there's no such thing as time as we perceive it.
No, it has to be a relative and a way to describe one state from another.
Right.
That's all it is a description of state change, more or less.
Exactly. That's why when the Akashic Record gets into the future, that's why to me this becomes really, really interesting. I don't know if it's plausible, but
that's what bothers me
that
too.
gets intriguing to me because as you go through, like you were saying, Everett, someone who can read the decision tree through to the conclusion. Well, that's because you have to be, because it's there. Now, is the outcome predetermined? I don't think the outcome's predetermined.
Some people who have,
but I will tell you what is predetermined. All of the possible outcomes, by definition, have to be predetermined.
There's only so many.
There's a finite number of possible outcomes, even though the finite number can be astronomically big.
Even if it's 1 to the 1 billionth power, it's still
a finite number.
Right. It can be quantified.
It's not imaginary. So,
but
I'm meaning an imaginary number. So
it's kind of scary at that point, though. I mean, at that point, you got to kind of realize that you don't have complete free will. If this exists in any kind of record, then you can't be the first person who have chosen this for yourself. Another version of you has chose it or will choose it.
Yeah.
I mean, free will, again, it would be an illusion. If there's any way there's a future written down that you end up following, you've taken away free will.
Well, but you're just
even if you say it's a guess, you know what I mean?
But okay, but I wonder if you're sort of like parsing the free will definition a little too narrow here. If there's millions upon millions of different paths, we're all bound to go down one of them. Just because that one path was predetermined doesn't mean we were determined to choose it. It was only the path that was predetermined.
Sure, I can buy that.
We have an interstate highway system, right?
Yes,
so there's a million.
It's an awesome thing.
There's all sorts of ways to get to California.
Mm-hmm.
They're all predetermined. But if you go and start driving and just flip a coin randomly, turn left or right every so often, and then every so often just turn back west, your route wasn't predetermined, but your destination, the exact route.
I get what you're saying.
You get what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying.
The same way as if a decision that you make in your life could put you off track of your final thing. Like, oh shit, you turned this way, hit a rock, had a car wreck. Now you're not getting your final destination. The same way as like a whatever in your life, a decision that you made could make it impossible for you to get to.
Yeah, see, I've never been a fatalist, so I'll concede. I've never believed that everything is mapped out and
I don't like that either.
we're just going down a preordained playbook. But I do believe we are all on predetermined routes. It's just up to us which route we're going to take.
I mean, that makes sense too. And if you look at the way and there's a lot of contradicting thoughts about the Akashic Record. One is the fact that you can look and see the future. Shit, where am I going here? I lost my train of thought. God damn it.
Well, let me pick it back up with this.
Go for it.
That so time, man-made construct.
Right.
I think we.
Yeah.
Okay. And then Eric has down here. So all the information of the past, present, and future are all locked into one. Because the future information is combined with the present and the past.
Yeah.
Because the future are those predetermined paths. We just don't know which one we're going to journey.
Exactly.
You know,
It's all part of the same equation.
So I hope I'm describing that as best as possible. Some of these things kind of defy, words kind of defy them. But if you drew a roadmap and you're going to see, it was predetermined that you could go that route. And but I didn't choose that route. But the record would have all the outcomes of the route, just as Everett was saying earlier. All those possible outcomes would be known, which gets really fascinating.
Well, I think my point I was trying to make is that there's so many different people trying to define what the Akashic Record is and the way that existence exists around it, whereas that you as a person exist in multiple dimensions at the same time, living out multiple lives. How can that work if you're able to access your own specific future? I don't know. It's a weird ether, you know what I mean? To try to take and turn into a three-dimensional understanding, to where you've got all of this stuff happening in more than a four-dimensional sense, and try to quantify it. I don't know. It's hard to understand, and the way so many people try to use it for their own devices, it's hard to put together.
It is, but you just mentioned the ether, which is, I'm a big believer in the ether. That if you get to the edge of the known universe, they say, what's beyond the edge? Well, the answer is nothing. Well, what's in the nothing? Well, nothing. True nothing. Absolute zero.
Like not even space?
Not even space. Because space itself
is something, right?
Is something.
It's a fabric.
Yeah, because don't let someone tell you, the distance between, there's nothing in between our solar system and the next closest star.
Right.
Right? No, there is. It's ether. There's gravitational forces.
It's like how fish exist in the water of the ocean. Matter exists in the space of the universe, so to speak. Mm-hmm. Space is the water of the universe, whereas water is the existence of the ocean. You know what I mean?
And like the water, it's subject to a tide.
Right.
And like space, it's subject to all sorts of
all sorts
of forces that we totally don't understand, such as gravity itself. Our galaxy is kept together in some gravitational form.
Right. If you look at how dark energy and dark matter work right there, that is the definition of we don't fucking get it.
Exactly.
So.
Exactly. So, I love this stuff, though. What if your brain fills your dreams up with people from your Akashic Record?
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Dreams could definitely be your unconscious mind directly accessing the Akashic Record.
Unconscious or subconscious?
Or subconscious. Either way. Either way. At the end of the day, it could be the same thing, just with a different name.
I like this as well, that you put, if there's a God, does he maintain the record? Can he access the record? Are the records his mind, which was yours earlier, Everett? These are, Can we create or alter the future by accessing these records? Or are we simply viewing?
Or are we simply just dump, as soon as we access the record for, and learn that knowledge, have we basically
changed the record?
Well, ensured that we're not in the dimension we thought we were.
You've definitely changed the record. Yeah, the record will reflect.
Right, and that's another one that Armand addresses really. Yeah.
Because if it's truly fourth dimensional and everything that happened all at once and is happening again and constantly, then wouldn't you say as soon as you access it and you read it, that
it's always been that way?
It was always going to be that way.
That's interesting.
That's
what we were going to do was always going to happen that way.
Hold on. That was one of the paths that could have happened. Now it has.
But what I'm saying is, if there's a infinite amount of you doing it, the you that you are was always going to do that. The other dimensions of you that are not you.
Didn't you jump back to fatalism then?
Kinda. That's the problem with this whole fucking thing. It tries to exist in too many different ways at the same time.
See, Armand does a really good job of explaining on the quantum level the notion that once the object is observed, the object is changed.
Yeah.
He's given really pretty eloquent explanations of that whenever, the science, because we do a lot of science on this day in history because of birthdays of scientists or discoveries, and he does a really good job of explaining on those sort of in layman's terms, that whole, once it's observed, it's changed. So, once it's tapped into, it's, the record is altered, because it's now recorded that you chose one of those paths. That is how I try to make sense of it.
Yeah. I mean, and again, that makes sense until I start to think that if it's written there, I was always going to do that. You know what I mean? This version.
No, you always had the possibility of doing that, and now you.
But if there's infinite possibilities, I'm always the possibility I was going to be. My possibilities for me are this path. There's another me that
once
has
you arrive
the same,
there.
almost
Once you
the
arrive there, there is.
Well, but there's another version of me who's at this point has had the exact same path.
So you're already under the assumptions that there's infinite versions of you
existing concurrently, and they will have their path, and I will have mine, and our paths may be exactly the same up until
what if those
one
paths are crisscrossing? Because this is what you said earlier that really got my attention. That
they can only crisscross until the first time they diverge. Then they are completely separate.
Did these geniuses, the Newtons, the Einsteins, Mozarts, somehow have a moment where they crossed paths with something that gave them the inspiration?
They may very well have. I mean, how else do you think of some of the shit like E equals MC squared in its infinite simplicity, yet accuracy? How the fuck do you come up with that?
Well, that's what they say about Einstein is the beauty, the simple beauty of the equations.
As simple and accurate as that is,
right.
How the hell do you come up with something like you would think? I would spend years trying to come up with an ultimate fucking 80-mile long equation to figure out how much how much energy is created from a reaction. He does it in 4 or 5 characters. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like you take the energy, however complex energy is, and it always equals the mass of the object you're working with
times the speed of light squared.
And every time it works out. And to the best of our knowledge, that's held up in every test we've put it on.
Yeah.
Blows my mind. Where did he get that?
Smart guy.
True, but
I think, but it's also an exploration of knowledge and memory.
Yeah,
which is what I also find fascinating because people who have great memories, and there's sometimes I've wondered, like you've said, which one of you said this earlier in the show? Is the memory really in our head, or is the memory something that we just have access to because it's us? We're already on the same wavelength.
Right.
We can draw it down anytime. And is that why sometimes, and I know there's neurochemical reasons but have you ever sat around and suddenly you remember an event so mundane from so long ago in your life?
Oh, yeah.
It's so meaningless. And you're like, how the hell did that just pop
all
into
the
my
time,
head?
man, like 4th birthday party or something like that.
One of the first ones I can remember is pulling out of the driveway of my house and seeing a ball I left in the yard.
Sure.
It is absolutely mundane.
Mm-hmm.
But at some point, I don't know, a couple of years ago.
Maybe that's where you split.
That popped into my head. And I hadn't thought about it since the day that happened.
Maybe that's where you split into individual tones.
I would have to say that you have to be correct there because every incident where there's opportunity for a split must occur, and every split that can occur must occur. If it is the case that is the mechanic that splits can occur, they must occur, and every chance that they can occur, they do occur. So I would say you're right in that regard. But only because it must be that way.
Yeah. Maybe that's all those crazy memories and deja vu. You know what I mean? That's times when you're recalling your split.
There was another thing where I was reading on the Akashic Record and memory and literally what I was reading dealt with the deja vu factor.
Really?
Yeah. Is this? Yeah, and there's a lot of good explanations for deja vu.
Yeah.
There's a lot of scientific explanations for deja vu that shouldn't be discounted.
It's a corrupted file of a memory. Your brain, like a computer, re-uploads.
Yeah.
Can you picture what like a physical 3D representation of what the split looks like of existence going on and how quickly and convoluted that gets?
I think of you ever see one of those huge oaks that are really low to the ground?
Sure.
I think of a short trunk and then branches that go wide immediately.
Let's think of it more simple, like a tournament bracket. Like simple as that, but do it backwards. Start with the winner and work your way backwards.
Semis.
But whenever you do that, you go out in your semis. Now each of those split, and they can't go out in the same direction. So now you have to kind of flip your bracket now on a 90 degree.
It's infinitely more hard than that though, because it's only splitting into 2 times every. You can have 5, 6
You can't even
trails.
think of this in 2 dimensions.
Yeah, I mean,
that's exactly my point. Because you're going across your 2
bracket.
dimensions. Now you have to, once you get to that next level, turn 90 degrees and create a new dimension. Every time you do that, for every every possibility. So after your first level, you split into 4. It's completely what's the word? Exponential. 16, now 32, and those would have to come back and lay on top of each other, and more or less occupy the same space.
That's mind-boggling.
It blows my mind too. It's hard.
I also like that in this Akashic Record research that like all the desires are also recorded.
Yeah, true.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's weird.
I mean, obviously that's rife with a lot of problems.
Yeah.
Especially for us guys. I mean, you want to really be able to tap into all of Everett's desires?
I don't want to tap into anything.
I have a lot of desires other than to be left alone. Just
I
saying. My desires are
Really?
short.
You watch Big Mouth, you've seen the hormone monster.
That's
I think
true.
you know what I'm talking about.
Okay, never mind. You don't want to get in there. You don't stay out of that part of my brain.
That's a dark. See what I mean? That's a dark place, though.
Yeah, especially in my mind.
It would all be well written and cataloged in the Akashic Record, though. Just every thought, every
But
every
can
intent,
you say though
everything.
that at that point it's only your Akashic Record for this dimension of you? Because if there's an infinite number of you, you have had every desire, and currently have every desire. So all of that is only relevant for this exact version of you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I got you, I think.
So, I mean, if you've split before and whatever changes you've had at that point have changed what your desires are, it is irrelevant to know the desires of another version of you.
Right.
I mean, at least in a judgment sense. Like if you're thinking about how weird my sexual desires are and you're going to look in the Akashic Record for it, you must keep your search to this version of me. You can't search for all the versions of Everett's desires because you're going to get the entire gamut.
Right.
Because by definition, I must have wanted everything. I must have wanted and have experienced everything.
No, again, going under your assumption that there's infinite numbers of you coexisting. And
I mean, that's from what I read of the Akashic Record, that's pretty much how it works. I don't know. But again, the Akashic Record is something that different to every person who wants to sell it to you.
But right. So beyond the inspiration, like I went from a bird to dreaming up the helicopter.
Mm-hmm.
An apple fell from a tree, and I get, the law of gravity. Moonlight Sonata comes into my head.
Mm-hmm.
Or Ode to Joy, which to me, if you know that one.
Yeah. Dun, 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 dun,
I mean, that to me is divine. I mean, that's incredible.
Yeah, where do you come up with that hook? I got you.
Right.
But then you could argue if you're accessing the Akashic Record, not only could you pull it from any other version of you who has written it already, you could pull it from any other person. There must be a version of me who's written Ode to Joy. You know what I mean? And you might have accessed it. So at that point, what is the difference between me and you?
But that's the connectivity, though.
Right, exactly.
Where is
the difference? Where is the difference in me and you once you get to that point?
There is none.
Because infinite is infinite. It's an ether of everything.
Right. But I think that's part of the fascination with it is when they say we are all one.
Yep.
You get to that point and you realize, yeah.
If you look at it that way, it's totally the way it makes sense.
That gets us on a sort of a unified level, right?
Right.
So those are for inspirations. What about wisdom, though? Because when you read about this, there's a lot about drawing wisdom, not just an inspiration for an invention,
right?
But actual wisdom.
Sure, and that really I think makes a real important. It's a really important thing to think about that way. Whenever you think about the Akashic Record's purpose of teaching your soul the life lessons, you know what I mean? It doesn't matter if there's an infinite amount of possibilities. If the purpose of this is for your soul to repeat actions until that whatever that existence is has learned it and has moved on, that can make more sense. Where it doesn't matter if there's an infinite versions of you. All you're trying to do is take your essence and improve it. If that's what it's about, then it doesn't matter about the infinite versions of it because they're not important because you're only one soul.
It's interesting to think though that a soul, meaning all souls from the beginning of time,
right.
Which I've already said there's no beginning to. So we're on this constant journey.
Well, there might be a beginning to, but what if there's no end to it? Then does that mean de facto there's no beginning? If there is no end, does that mean there is no beginning? I'd have to say no because any line that can go, I could start here and go forever, but I still have a beginning.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean I'm not infinite.
I would agree.
Anyway, sorry.
I think I would agree.
I think that's the problem with infinite. It's so fucking hard to wrap your head around. I ruined your flow. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking about it in terms of the, just in the whole wisdom aspect and everything. So, yeah, I mean that gets wow. Yeah, you're redefining my timeline of always being in the middle.
Right.
Yeah. Under your theory, we aren't in the middle of the timeline.
And it doesn't matter if you're
But
in
see,
the
in
middle
your
of it.
timeline, if there's beginning and there's infinite, we're always real close to the beginning.
Right.
On the timeline.
By definition, you're always closer to the beginning than the end. But exactly, because
we would be at a static point, which brings me back to, well, we're in the middle of the timeline.
Right.
We're where we always have been.
And I've theorized on this show anyway that infinite is a fake thing. At least it's only available as concept. Because if there was anything that was truly infinite in this physical world, it's all you would see. Because it would be everywhere. It is by definition everything. If it is infinite and it exists, it is right here. It has to be.
Infinite's weird, man.
Yeah, but I think the particles we're made up of, the base particles, the sub, well, those have always been here.
True, but they're not infinite.
Yeah.
At least only in the fourth dimension.
They aren't?
Are they infinite in 3 dimensions? If they're infinite in any of the 3 dimensions.
No, I mean, they've always been here. They always will be, even after we are gone.
In one way or the other, right.
Yeah. Whether we decompose or whether we sit in an airtight box.
Well, eventually entropy, though, is going to take to the point where all these particles have been stripped down to their base energies.
That's what I'm saying.
And they're not usable.
That base particle, the one that if you can split the base particle, you get spooky entanglement.
Down to nothing, right.
Where it's what I do to this half of the particle, the other half of the particle will have the equal and opposite reaction no matter where it is.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm saying. So in that regard, Everett, we're as old as time.
I mean, that's fair, but that would make it seem like there would be a start. There had to be a first action, you would think,
it would make it seem that way.
I mean, think about it this way. If there's a record right now of this happened right now and something happened before it, there would have to be a first action to start the reaction. You know what I mean? There has to be something to cause the next thing.
Well, so to follow up with you on that.
I was going to say, what was born first, chicken or the egg, right?
Well, take if all we are souls, which means somehow some form of energy that
exist in some sort of field
that exist, and right now we're existing in this dimension, this reality,
this existence.
Right. It means that our souls were born unperfect and are on an infinite quest to get better,
to perfect.
Right.
Right.
See, that jives with a whole bunch of religious doctrine.
Sure does.
Such as original sin, such as enlightenment, such as reincarnation. You can go to all the different religions, and now suddenly these things are starting to fall into place.
It just puts the importance on when your soul learns these lessons, be it as a living person or as
forget the when, because we already agree we don't believe in time.
Well,
forget the when.
I do.
What? When your soul attains enlightenment, what? What happens to...
What's after that? After Nirvana?
What happens to us?
As the Buddhists would call Nirvana.
Does Eric, once he attains enlightenment, become part of the Akashic Record?
I think at that point...
I think you are the Akashic Record.
Are you consumed into the Akashic Record?
I would say Gunga Galunga.
Gunga Galunga.
Yeah.
Gunga Galunga.
They went crazy, folks. You should see it here in the studio.
It's a quote, man.
You don't know what we're talking about.
I honestly don't know.
You honestly, it's the Dalai Lama.
No,
long hitter. So
he's never seen Caddyshack.
One time Everett's caddying for him, okay? Mm-hmm. And the Lama hauls off big hitter the Lama. Yeah. And he hits one into a 10,000-foot crevice. And Everett's going to go get the ball, and Dalai says, forget it. Then he says, Gunga Galunga.
That's close, yeah.
Okay.
That's almost how it happened.
That's what he tells E.
Uh-huh. So at the end of the day, I was reaching out for my tip.
Yeah.
And he says, today there will be no tip. And instead, Gunga Galunga, which means when you die, you will receive total spiritual enlightenment.
Oh, so he hooked you up.
Which is nice.
Yeah.
So I got that going for me.
Well, good.
Boy, that was a long thing to do a quote
I'm
there.
so disappointed in Eric.
Yeah, no.
He's never seen Caddyshack, man. Ladies and gentlemen, he's never seen Caddyshack, so there's a vote for Team Everett right there. I don't know. You guys want to keep going on this? We keep going in the same circle, and we're getting.
Well, that's the thing. This becomes a circle.
At the end of the day, I mean,
so
we'll never be able to answer the questions.
Well, let me ask you, there's another thing that falls in. So when you hear about, in Christianity, you'll hear about the ascension.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. The Assumption of Mary, the Ascension of Jesus. In Islam, you have very similar. In Judaism, you have instances of more of the other way around, coming down versus going up. But see, even thinking in terms of up, down, up, I think that's the wrong way to think.
Yeah.
So when you say something like, oh, well, you know, it's hard to believe that a man 2,000 years ago was sucked up into heaven. Maybe that's not what they're saying. Maybe they're saying it's a real transcendence.
I even think that's exactly what they'd be saying.
Maybe
kind of like how Luke did at the end of The Last Jedi.
Well, which is also, again, drawn on. I mean, it's seen right out of the Assumption. I know that kills Everett. So what do you, once your soul attains,
enlightenment,
is the enlightenment being
you return to source, man?
Yeah, you're
pretty much at that point. You return to source.
So you just become a big ball of energy, an aware.
No, you join the original ball of energy.
Total awareness.
Aware, a big ball of energy. You're aware of what you are, what's happened, and everything.
But then are you conjoined with?
Yeah, you're part of it's almost like a hive mind, I bet. I don't know, man. It's kind of hard.
It's hard to understand because it's an existence, not that we exist. You know what I mean? You can't understand it. It's like a fourth spatial dimension. We can't understand it.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, you want to say hive mind, but that's really not it either, because that seems like
seems like something out of Star Trek.
Yeah, exactly. But I read a really great thing one time that said that we all are balls of energy. And that, you know, like a lot of the time when people die, they you know, go back into the, you know, once they die, they feel that they're just a nice ball of energy zipping around with other balls of energy. And it's not that they're saying anything, but they can recognize these other balls of energy as their family and friends, and they can recognize them. And it's just, you know, I mean, it was really good.
I like the thought. I mean, who was the Bill Hicks?
Sure.
We're all just forms of energy, you know, vibrating on the same plane in this world. And I like what Tesla said about this too, because I pulled this up. The day science begins to study non-physical phenomena, it will make more progress in one decade than in all the previous centuries of its existence. That's coming from Tesla.
What do you think he was referring to there?
Say that again one more time.
The day science begins to study non-physical phenomena. So the things we were talking about, like, I'm thinking of a song, and Everett suddenly starts humming the song that I'm thinking of.
Right.
Now, we've all had this happen to us at some point. Study how that occurs, and Tesla's saying you will make more progress in one decade than in all the previous centuries of its existence. This is coming from Tesla, who's trying to send electricity through open air.
What he's trying to say is, tackle the completely fucking ununderstandable, and once you understand that, then you've made a step forward.
Right.
Basically, if you don't understand it, like something seems like complete magic, that is what you should attack and try to learn.
I had a deacon once when I was growing up who tried to give a definition of God, understanding God, undefinable.
Sure.
But and he gave a definition, and there's a definition of science as well, that science is the process of getting to the last why.
Right.
Why does this occur? Okay, then why does this occur? Okay, then why then this occur? And he married that to say, when you get to the last why, you have God behind the last why.
Yeah, I mean, again, if you go, like what he's saying is, why is the sky blue? Because of this process. Well, why is that process? Well, because of this process. Well, why? Because of that. Yeah, and if you take it all the way down, what he's saying is it must get to, because God.
Yeah, but if you go the scientific, if you go a scientific route as well, like studying this Akashic Record is actually kind of scientific.
We're trying to quantify the unquantifiable.
Well, but you get to the same conclusion. I mean, we were, as we talked here, what happens to Eric after he You'll never get enlightenment, Everett. I'm sorry.
Of course not.
I probably won't.
He doesn't have an
Eric-
open enough
Eric
mind.
has-
I don't need
chance.
it. I don't need it.
I don't need it. You don't need enlightened.
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
It's fine.
Well, it's like how you were saying how you were thinking time has no beginning, but for time to exist, as we understand it, it has to have a beginning because for time to exist, something has to have come before and something has to come after.
Well,
That's
look how
the way
we
it
measure
works.
time,
So
though.
there has to be an original. There has to be a step one.
Well,
you can't
step
start
one.
at step
Okay,
two.
here's our step one. Big Bang.
There you go. But
Before the Big Bang, apparently everything existed and then just got consumed right back down to one point and then exploded.
we don't know that. We don't even know the Big Bang is. But the theory, yeah.
The theory, right.
Right.
That's the theory. Meaning that there's been an infinite number of...
I don't
can it
like
be
the
infinite?
idea of using God to explain anything. You know what I mean? In science. as
Yeah,
far
but
as,
you
like,
don't
why-
quit
why is
thinking of
that?
God as gray-bearded guy in the sky.
I'm not either, but I'm just saying how you can't attribute stuff that you don't understand to God. So,
to an entity.
To an entity, to anything, to an idea.
So
even.
what can you
But
attribute
can't-
it to a physical process?
Because if that's the case, then all God is and this is a Neil deGrasse Tyson quote, all God is an ever decreasing pocket of scientific ignorance which in one day we will not even need anymore. We will move past that. So I don't
once
like
we understand
attributing-
everything, there's no
I
need
would
for
think
God?
yeah, once you get it all, what do you got to explain?
that was my point exactly. So is it basically just the rules that we don't know yet is God?
Yeah, exactly. So that's like
The processes we
God
don't
is
understand.
an ever declining pocket of scientific ignorance. Is the way that is from what I understand is everybody. If you use God to explain a process that science can't,
I like DeGrasse, so let me
I hate
say
him.
this. You do?
I don't like him. He thinks he's a rock star. Yeah.
Well, he does like celebrity. I'll give you that.
yeah.
But as that ever declining, how'd you define it again?
Pocket of scientific ignorance.
Right. As that pocket declines,
I like that.
knowledge is growing.
Yes.
Okay. As that knowledge grows, what if the knowledge grows into, oh yeah, here's how the Akashic field works. And that knowledge presents you with, oh,
There's a God.
That's what it was meant to be.
Right. Well, then you can't. I mean, then you're not attributing it. You're not explaining something by saying it was God or it's because of God, or you're not contributing the unknown.
No, you got
to an entity.
You got behind the last why. Finally.
Yes.
But why of the last why? That's by definition there is no why of the last why. That is the last why. If it is the last why.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the hard part to wrap your brain around.
That is a hard thing to wrap
There
your
is
brain
no
around.
because that means that's the whole I am the Alpha, I am the Omega, I am the beginning, I am the end. It's so hard to say, oh yeah, you're the beginning, huh? So you've been here infinite, and
you'll
nobody
always-
created you,
and
you
you'll
just
always be here.
were. That I can't wrap my head around that. You
Okay,
always were.
But what if
What was your first one, guy? Would you have a first memory? Is there a memory that comes before all others? If God has a memory, wouldn't he? And if things happen one after another to him, doesn't he have to have a first memory?
I don't know, but I'd like to think he regrets that whole Abraham and Isaac thing on the mountain.
Psych.
I'm just saying.
That's a harsh trick to play on a
Fuck
dude, isn't
yeah,
it?
what an asshole. If
That's
was
a
the
harsh
case.
trick.
He was a
Damn.
drunk. God was a bad drunk at the time.
Yeah, he had been drinking a lot in the Old Testament days.
That's a harsh, yeah. That's one as a kid. They read that one to you, you get uncomfortable. You're like,
wait a minute, he did what?
Wait a second.
But let me throw this out to you though: if God is infinite and has always been, then doesn't that mean that anything there's things that He have done that is damn near is infinity minus one? Because his first actions, like he had to have had the actions that are as old as He is, an infinite amount ago. So there's things as nearly as old as God, only but by a fraction less. Effects or something. Effects of His thoughts or His actions or that being's. They have to have an effect that is as old as He is.
Don't know.
So my point is now they are completely. You've put an age on them. So God is the age of. He is the age of that action plus one little bit. So He's quantifiable as well. I mean, you can't have a linear time. Is the problem with it? It has to be circular if you want to have a no start. You get my point? Like it can't go to the end.
Can you just say that?
It has
like
to come back to the
Matthew
beginning.
McConaughey would in True Detective.
How would he say in True Detective? Come on, man.
Time is. We think of time as a line. It's a flat, circular plane.
all right.
Get out. All right. Get out of the
Be a
car.
lot cooler if it was circular.
Get out of the car, Woody.
That was a good show too.
God, that was a good show. The I like that you guys don't go on tangents like Armand does, though.
We don't?
We
not
don't?
really.
Wait,
no,
what?
Armand will go on a tangent of a tangent of a tangent, like Everett's tournament bracket that keeps breaking off and splitting into other. That's him when you get him going on a topic on this day in history.
We try to,
but don't you think though, on the religious aspect, what if these religions were created out of metaphysical thought and just weren't able to express themselves very well? And art and words don't really define it very well. And they create these impressions for us that aren't really the truth.
Okay.
Doesn't that begin to make a lot more sense? Don't things start to fall into place just a little bit better?
Yeah, I wouldn't say better. I mean, I get you. You know, humans are fucking it up for sure.
But that's by our nature. We always will, because we don't have a complete understanding. We don't have complete knowledge.
Chat saying, don't diss Armand. We love Armand. Don't worry.
I love him too. He's an acquired taste, though.
He is the fourth side to our coin. You know what I'm saying?
Well, he is in another dimension. Whew. How he gets, how he. I'm still fascinated by how that brain of his works.
Mm. Yeah, he's a well of deep knowledge.
Oh yeah. No, he's got it.
He is a deep well of knowledge, that is for sure.
You remember all that shit,
man. Boys, we got so much other shit here written down, but again, it's going to get circular. Haha. In this discussion, what I would suggest is people get out there.
Don't do the reading things.
Don't do what?
The readers, like the people who want to read your Akashic Record.
Yeah. Don't pay anybody.
That is not what we're discussing.
Don't pay anybody.
No, yeah, because at the end of the day, it's unlikely that anybody has the ability to directly access the Akashic Record or whatever this data store is in any meaningful amount. Because if they did, they wouldn't be sitting here giving you $20 readings.
Exactly. From what I understand about the Akashic Record, if a person could access it, they're not worried about making $20 off of you. They've got
your $20 is not worth shit compared to the knowledge they have.
Exactly.
But I also like your thought earlier, Everett and Eric, that even the geniuses were just getting a small little pull down of info from the record,
right?
A split second crossover.
So here's a good question. So in all these here, one of the questions that says, "How will you know if you received accurate information?" I would never think of it like that, to where you're receiving information. It's the interpretation of the bump into the record you get. You know what I mean? You get this swell, this is incomprehensible swell of knowledge that you get, and you have to interpret it in a certain manner. So what you got to have is a person who is able to interpret this swell of data into something usable. It's not what you get is accurate or inaccurate, because you're just getting a dump, not of anything specific.
So you need a guy like Einstein who has, for lack of a better term, good, solid,
maybe he got lucky.
High-speed random access memory.
Well, maybe.
So he can digest all that.
I would say that he has the right ears and eyes to understand the input coming at
hold on. His brain also weighed a lot.
Well, I mean, now you're taking and adding a physical need.
But there's a physical element to this.
Well, let's look at it like the Jedi. Yoda had the power to fucking move a Star Destroyer.
Don't start with the midi-chlorian bullshit.
It's not about that. It's about how big he was versus what he was able to do. Does the brain, to access the Akashic Record, does it matter how big your brain is?
I don't know.
I wouldn't think that would matter at all.
I don't think so either. But I think it matters then after access is established.
Yeah.
Okay? Mm-hmm. And the pipe is pulling the data in. Just like a download. It's
like crude oil.
Okay. Again, you can pull all the data you want into a Commodore 64 until you blow the thing up.
Mm-hmm.
No random access memory.
Well, if you got
was it random access memory or ROM?
Random access memory. ROM would be like a storage medium. Random access memory is how you keep your input that's coming in a big pool until you're ready to use it.
Right.
So what he has is a lot of RAM,
Newton
which is your brain.
A lot of RAM in his brain that could then make something of that data.
Well, the RAM wouldn't be what you would have as a piece of software that allows you to analyze that data and pull useful things out of it. And that's the thing. I don't think anybody has the software at this point to do that. What I'm saying is you get lucky and see this data and just got lucky and saw it in just the right way and interpreted it to get something useful in a three-dimensional thought.
So like kids with Asperger's or that are on the spectrum that can see things differently and could maybe decode the hardest military coding that there is in like 2 seconds just because their brain works like that.
But that's still two-dimensional data versus multi-dimensional
Well, right,
data.
but what I'm getting at is that they're capable of comprehending so much more than a regular person would be.
You have to admit there's a physiological capability there in a autistic individual than we have.
Yeah, like Rain Man's ability to count fucking toothpicks.
Well, that's in a Rain Man example, but in
I'm trying to relate it to if they were given the slight bit of access to the Akashic Record the same way Einstein was or something, and their brain could do something with that information or maybe even figure out how to get back. Like, we don't know.
Well, hold on.
Well, they can look at it and see, this information makes me think of brown. And while the brown to them might mean, well, this is a recipe for how to turn plutonium into gold or something dumb like that, to us it's just brown. But they understand what they're seeing in a completely different framework than what we see it as. It's kind of what you're saying. Like they have a different way to process it.
I'm just saying you're talking about interpretation.
Yeah.
There it is.
They can interpret different.
Right. The way they have the ability to catalog it differently and understand it. Like they don't even to think of it like that. It's not an understanding the way we would think of understanding as an exact A, B, C, D.
Right.
I would think to understand that data, you'd have to not think of things in A, B, C, D. More like A, B, C, and D are all existing at the same time.
Like all the letters are interlocked.
Right.
Well,
all the letters are the same letter, but they're different.
Like that kid, they flew over a couple of different cities, and he stayed in a hotel room and had a 40-foot long piece of paper that was like 5 feet tall, and he drew the entire city on this piece of paper.
Yeah.
It's autistic. And he did that from a 20-minute helicopter ride looking over the city. So he didn't look at this as I'm drawing a building. Here. He cataloged that entire city over the course of this 20-minute helicopter ride and then drew it back over the course of a few days just by, accessing those little tidbits of information. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but what does that got to do with the Akashic Record? Are you saying that his brain works different?
No, I think this is where Eric's going. Remember when I said earlier, is the memory really in our head, or are we drawing down the memory from somewhere?
I got you. So what you're saying is whenever he's taking that input in, he's able to store it in a direct and easily re-pull outable way in something like the Akashic Record, maybe.
Okay, so assume that he stored all that visual data into the record, which is already in the record.
Right.
He's able to pull it down. And now remember, the
record to him is a USB hard drive that he can access, but doesn't actually know that he's accessing.
But remember,
like we don't know that we could access it. Or that it exists, but he's accessing and doesn't know that he's accessing.
Exactly.
But remember,
it's just his.
Yeah. One of the the issue with being autistic though is the sensory overload.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, introducing an autistic person to the Akashic Record, well, that's the ultimate sensory overload.
Think about this. Maybe they're autistic because they have access to it.
Okay, that's where I was going. Good thought.
Wow. Yeah.
That's I love that thought, Everett.
I'm a normal person, right? But now I've been bombarded with way more than I should be able to
because their channel, for lack of a better term, is wide open.
Yeah, I mean
wide open.
It would drive you crazy. It's like how they say hearing the voice of God could drive you crazy or something like that, because there could be so much more sensory information coming in than you could possibly ever handle, and it turns you crazy.
Well, it makes you
not crazy.
It's not
for lack
crazy,
of a better word,
but it does make you develop these mechanisms to cope.
Sure.
Which non-autistic people don't need those coping mechanisms. We all have our coping mechanisms.
Sure. Mm-hmm. But, no, I mean, some people, like, you can have anxiety just for the simple fact that the stimuli that you take in, that everybody else takes in, affects you differently. Like, the noises that you hear, like, on a constant, like a dripping.
Yeah.
To me, it could drive me fucking batty because it's just that much more sensory on top of where I'm at, and I'm not able to process that kind of sensory input. That's just put me over my load, the straw that broke the camel's back, so to speak. Autistic people now could maybe take the deluge, the flood, the waterfall of all that, and it's just taking them to the point now where they can act normal as a person. Like, to me, that water droplet, I wouldn't be able to sit here and concentrate. Well, they've got a waterfall, and it's changed their entire way of act.
I also like that you described it as that way, because I did have someone describe being autistic. Imagine that there was just a gentle stream of water as your everyday thoughts.
Sure.
Everything that you perceive, take in. Now imagine that you're standing in the middle of Niagara Falls. That is what it's like to be autistic. And I think
you'd be kind of like drowning. That's, you know what I mean? You're sitting there trying like.
I think that's.
And you've gotten to the point where you're living now in a constant "I'm drowning" state, but you've normalized.
I think that's what having a wide open pipeline to the Akashic Record would be like.
Could be like, yeah. Just to the point where you are overwhelmed constantly, and you're constantly trying to get out of it, and your normal state of being, you've normalized into, I'm dealing with it in whatever manner that works out to.
Yeah.
And most people they don't have the wherewithal to go like, I understand that what you are getting is way more than what I can handle.
Right.
You know what I mean? You're getting way more, or maybe you're getting the same amount, but you don't handle it the same way I do, or maybe. I don't know, the filter's off. I don't know. It's
how long is it going to be for someone autistic displays telekinetic abilities just to be able to act? I'm just saying.
Like moving shit?
Yeah, you never fucking know, dude.
Moving stuff?
Moving stuff.
All right, you've lost me there.
You don't believe in the telekinetic?
Well, I mean, maybe I do, but it's way outside the realm of what the Akashic Record of.
Oh, yeah.
Well, yeah, no, this is more tangent than anything on that.
I believe that through intercourse and mutations that me and a woman can create a fucking army of superheroes. You know what I mean? It's going to happen over time with evolution.
Okay, Goebbels.
I mean...
Well, we reached the part where Everett's an asshole. So
we started with that one, though.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
It just didn't make sense where you were going with...
No, I knew it was
higher advanced.
It was a tangent.
Using of their brains, man, is all I'm saying.
So how long do I think for an autistic person can... have telekinesis? I don't think that'll happen.
You don't think that'll happen?
No.
Okay.
One of the things I know everyone looks for a
There's
cause.
nothing in the animal kingdom that has anything similar to telekinesis. So.
There's nothing in the animal kingdom that can do the things that autistic people can do either.
Baloney.
Okay.
Qualify that.
I don't know how you.
What do you mean? What do you mean? There's what can autistic people do? What is their superpower that you're giving them?
Their brain
can
perform actions that.
Well, some autistic people can certainly do the incredible math.
Ants can do fucking crazy things.
But an ant's not going to tell you the square root of 1,536,382.
Yeah, that's kind of what.
How do you know that?
Because it's not functionally designed to do that.
It doesn't know English.
I get what you're saying.
A dog's not going to tell you that either. It's just not designed for that.
Next stage of human evolution, maybe someone in the chat says. Autism is a direct result of our continued evolution, with savantism being a part of what we will become. I don't know.
I mean, I know people want to study and find, because I hear a cure for autism, and I kind of recoil when I hear that. Yeah, I mean, if you're going to, I don't think anyone wishes to have an autistic kid or an Asperger's kid, but certainly there seems to be a lot more, maybe because, we understand it now and diagnose it. Mm-hmm. Maybe there is some physical cause for it environmentally. But I wish, having an autistic niece and knowing other autistic people, we ought to put a lot of resources into studying the abilities of what they can do and how to effectively communicate with them.
Yeah, right. Like, so why is no one doing that? Why is no one figuring out a way to decode what's going on inside? You know what I mean? Like, figure out everything that can make shit a lot easier for autistic people, man. We really could.
I think you could make everyday life
a ton easier.
Hopefully easier. It's still a lot of stuff coming at you.
Yeah.
What if autistic people have the same hardware we have, the same brain, and it is again the stimuli, right? But what if you can take and upgrade their central processor unit? Think of a person like a laptop, right? You've got your normal amount of stuff your laptop's churning through. You know those days whenever your laptop, you're editing video and you're doing all this shit at the exact same time and your laptop starts to slow down? Think about that like an autistic person with the amount of stuff they're trying to process, but their brain can only handle so much like a normal person's brain. What if you're able to upgrade that and still keep that amount of stimuli in? Would that be a lot like...
What part of the brain would that be?
I don't know, just the brain in general.
But you can't talk like that, though.
What do you mean?
Well, because there's certain, there's...
Like the hippocampus or the hypothalamus?
Yes.
All I'm saying is, whatever that is that allows a person to process the amount of data coming in, right? A normal person has an absolute amount that they can handle, right? An autistic person has way more coming in, and they're again trying to tread what they can get through, and that's why they seem a little bit off because they can only handle so much.
Right.
What if you were to upgrade their brain, whatever part needs to be upgraded, to handle that amount of input? Would they be like Bradley Cooper in that movie Limitless at that point?
More like Lucy in the movie Lucy.
Either which way. I mean, it's the same exact thing, but...
Well, that's fascinating. Yeah. That's a good...
Because at that point...
Okay, so take this into account. Back to the Akashic Record. Let's say the pipeline's open.
Sure.
We've already said that record itself doesn't really have a Dewey Decimal System to it. And it's not like going through Windows folders to see neatly classified things, right? But what is the first thing an autistic person tries to do with data coming in?
I don't know.
They try to organize it.
The same thing any person tries to do.
Well, it's true, but they really try to get it into its spots.
I
right?
kind of feel like I do the same thing all the time. I had an argument with my wife at lunch about that same exact thing today.
Because for my niece, I can show her this piece of paper. Now, she just can't look at it and regurgitate it to you. But what she can do, and it's really impressive, is she can read it once, and she can recite it back to you at about 90% accuracy.
Jeez, yeah, I can't do that.
Okay? But so obviously their brain is trying to build the organizational structure to hold the data, which kind of lends, if you connect with if you can connect with the Akashic Record, yeah, you get this deluge, but we're all going to have to do something to store it, make sense of it, categorize it.
Software upgrade.
That's why I really like what you and Eric came up with, of these crossover intersections where, okay, Mozart or Bach or Van Gogh, whoever, Einstein, had these intersections where that occurred. And they were able. That's why Einstein, if he truly had the pipeline wide open, he would have got to his unified field theory.
Oh, yeah.
But he didn't.
Well, I would say if he had truly a wide open pipeline, he would have got past unified field theory into the complete truth of existence.
He got to the special theory of relativity. He got to the general theory of relativity and the special theory of relativity.
Right. Which is
which I think in a very uneducated and novice way supports your sort of crossover hypothesis of being,
just a slight understanding. Like he was trying to take that data and try to parse it into an understandable way.
Right. And the reason he has success is he was doing it enough times.
Yeah.
Or maybe his hardware was just slightly better than the rest of ours.
I think the hardware is better as well. The physiological wear, I think it was better as well. Hell, they studied his brain. But you're not trying, this is not something where you have to bat 300 for baseball and to be successful. Hell, he could bat 1/10 of 1%. And if that gave us E equals MC squared,
he did good.
All he had to do is pinch hit that one time and hit a home run.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
He only was ever in the majors one time, hit a home run. They never needed him again. But that home run was the single most important home run that was ever hit.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
So I think by doing it more and more and more, meaning one of my conclusions from
he was the Babe Ruth of thought.
Well, yeah, but one of my conclusions from researching, and Babe Ruth struck out the most.
Right.
I mean, at least for his era, I think it's true. I think he struck out the most because he got up there the most.
Sure.
Okay. But man, what was it going? Completely lost it. I got to get back into the record.
Hop into the record, see what you can figure out.
But that's what As I did my research on this, what I really came away with is, man, we all really need to invest some time in learning meditation.
Yeah,
not just for the purpose of accessing the Akashic Record,
which I think is bullshit. Oh, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself.
Okay, but for the purpose of the benefits it has to us, because clearly, people who have gotten good at meditation, thought meditation, or other forms, have produced some really astounding results.
Let me ask you guys this on a completely hypothetical. Say you were able to access your Akashic Record and see your complete future and understand it.
See my complete what?
Future. Like what your line of events, what your existence's line of events is going to be. How boring at that point does the rest of your life become? Because you cannot change it at all. As soon as you read that, you'll have read that you, at this point for the rest of your life, know what's going to happen.
I've read all my possible pathways.
And you know which pathway you're going to take. And it's immutable at that point.
You've seen the end of the movie. Why do you want to watch the middle?
It's not even that. Even though you've seen the end of the movie, you know the end of the movie, and you are helpless to do anything but play it out. You cannot change it because it is immutable. As soon as you read what is officially the Akashic Record, and it is the story, now you know it, and you have to do it. You can't. You're helpless to do anything but what you've read. You can't change it because you've read it, and it is what it is.
Well, you're back to your fatalism again.
Well, but that's
you're
the
a
way
fatalist.
But I'm not a fatalist.
Here's
I'm
the
just going by
question.
what
Can you change the Akashic Record if after you've read it and by your actions?
I would say no, because
say if the Akashic Record says you're going to own this multi-million-dollar corporation, you're going to own it until you're 80 and die. Well, once you read that and you're like, well, I don't want to be that CEO for the rest of my fucking life. Sell the fucking company. Go.
I would argue that you can't.
You can't change. No, but I think as soon as you do that, wouldn't the Akashic Record change to reflect your intentions?
I would say that the Akashic Record, as you read it, would be like you had the thought that you were going to have the thought about changing it, but realized that you can't do it because this is the way things are.
Oh, deep.
Yeah, I mean
that's good. That's good. You know, that's deep. My thing would be imagine a map with all these different pathways on it. On one side of the map, you have pathways that are bolded, which are the pathways that got chosen.
Sure.
And then you get to a space, a spot in time, as humans perceive it, where the bolding goes away and all options are still possible. To me, that's the record. It shows you. It shows
what
you
I would say that
what
I
you
get exactly what you
chose,
mean.
what you could have chosen, and then what is in front of you to choose, but you haven't chosen.
But wouldn't it make sense, though, that the only things that you would have access to are the events that will be the ones that you choose or will have chosen? Because otherwise they don't matter at all. Like, you would only have access to what your line is. Because you would only see the
you
bold
only know
parts.
your Akashic Record.
Right.
I can't see yours or anyone else's.
No, beyond that, like if you look at what people say on the internet, yeah, you can access what, but logically speaking, you can't access even the other versions of you from the other realities because it doesn't make sense for you to have that. Like how you were saying, like there's all these different possibilities and you see the bold ones.
Yeah.
I would posit that you can only see your bold ones. I can't see the other Everett's bold ones. They're not mine.
But those are past.
See, again, if you're going by the Akashic Record where everything happens at the same time, has happened, will happen, is happening.
Yeah.
It's not past. It is.
The past, present, and future are all.
It's not was. It's not going to be. It is. At all times is. And if you're trying to access that, you can only access the is for you, not the other you, the you.
Fuck,
this
man.
existence you.
That puts our Einstein theory out because oh no, I guess he could have, how would he have figured all that out if that was the case?
Right, and if there is a record like that where you're accessing it and you've got a you, and you can read it, and then I say you are helpless because you are you are helpless to change anything that you read. Because you've read what that path is for you. It is immutable. It is your path.
I like the you.
Well, as opposed to that you, or that other you. I'm me. Not you me. I'm me.
Not enough blue eyeshadow.
Not enough blue eyeshadow for me. You get what I'm saying? Once you read your path, it's not changeable. Because it is your path. Even if you're aware of it.
If you observe your path, you lock it in.
Right. Well, even it was already locked in. Now you're just aware. And you were always going to become aware.
No,
your
man,
path
just
was
like
always that
quantum
you were going to
physics,
become aware.
Observing it changes it.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Well, Heisenberg's uncertainty principle?
No, like just the act of observing these particles.
Heisenberg's uncertainty principle.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so
that's what Armand explains really well. I was saying earlier.
Right.
He really does a good job.
So the uncertainty principle,
laying that out in
But just
layman's
by the
terms.
act of observing your Akashic Record, you have changed it because now you've seen what you're supposed to do.
Well,
And what I'm saying is, like, maybe you don't like that. You observe this. Whoa, no. Now your intention is different. From there on out, the moment you observe the Akashic Record and made your mind up, it's changed because your intent
then you
has
observed
changed.
somebody else's Akashic Record is my point then. You didn't observe yours. You observed someone else's events you played out.
Was
in that way.
other you or
It
that
was,
you?
They were other you.
They were it was your Akashic
Then you're
Record.
saying at that point, as soon as you
until-
read it, you split.
Exactly. You made
So
the
then you
split.
didn't read your future. You read the future of the split.
Well, it was yours until you
read it. But then what I'm saying is if you actually read what is really yours, not the split, it is impossible for you to change it. As soon as you change it, you've split and you did not read yours anymore.
Man, fuck you.
You read somebody else's future. Another you's future.
I guess, man. I got nothing, dude.
You get what I'm saying?
I got you,
Yeah,
E,
no, I
because
completely understand, but
Everett
shit.
throws up just some fascinating, and kind of terrifying possibilities.
I mean,
I like the way you think.
logically, it has to be that way. Because as soon as you look it in and says it's you, it can't change. Philosophically, if that's you, You can do nothing about it. Now, if you do change it,
Therefore, there's no free will.
right? If you looked at it and you were able to change
Wow.
it, you did not look at your future. You looked at another possibility of another version of your future. If you are able to read your future and it is your future, you can't do shit about it. You've made the contract. You're saying, I'm going to read my future.
I wonder if somehow we're
the
cosmically
horror of it-
protected from reading our futures then.
Could be. I mean, at that point, why would you want to know anything?
Well,
That
here's
would be the ultimate
here's what
torture.
I'll posit this back to you.
Hit me.
If there's no free will, and once you read your future, it's locked in, how are we attaining enlightenment if that's attainable? Aren't we doomed to repeat the same?
Well, I would say as soon as you read your future, that would have to be enlightenment, because now you know the exact.
So if you can read your future, you become enlightened.
Pretty much, because at that point you know what it is. That you know the truth.
You know
if you can see the future, that is
all the
absolute
elemental
truth.
truths.
Exactly. As soon as you know, because what is the truth?
And I don't
The
mean
truth is what it
I
is.
don't mean truths like who shot JFK truths. I mean elemental truths.
Right.
Yeah.
I would say to know yourself and to know your future would be to have absolute knowledge. At that point, you have enlightenment.
Well, yeah, it depends on how you define enlightenment. Because a lot of enlightenment is defined in by just being complete. You're making yourself complete. You're enlightened. You understand everything about yourself. You're not at war or at conflict, or you're at complete peace with everything. You know what I mean? So you would understand that's yourself. Even though the world's fucked up,
Would you consider
you're
that
at complete
nihilism?
peace.
Would you consider that kind of peace nihilism? Because at that point, if you know everything, wouldn't it be like
I like that you brought this back to Lebowski.
Yeah.
kind of? But if you know everything and
These
you
men
know
are cowards,
and you know the
Donnie.
truth of it, what does it matter if you try to change it? Because it is what it is. You know what I mean? There's no point in trying to change something that is what it is. You know what I mean? Why go against it?
They're nihilists. They don't believe in anything.
These
What
men are
is-
weaklings.
What does Walter say when dude
Don't worry, these men are cowards.
That's right. They're cowards. They believe in nothing. We'll cut your balls out.
We want some money. Come and take it. Fucking Walter, probably the best part of that movie.
Anything with Walter in that movie was great. John fucking
Man
Goodwin.
down, dude.
What does he say about his blood pumping through his heart? He's just blamed. I don't know.
I just like his eulogy for Donnie. I always thought that was
yeah.
touching. I want someone to say something like that at my funeral.
He dumps the ashes out. That was
So bad. All right, you guys done for the day? I think we had a really
Hey,
good
I do
discussion.
have one note. This was great. Thank you.
Thank you for coming on
taking
today,
the
man. I
idea.
appreciate it.
Last time I was on was the Bigfoot episode.
That was like a year ago.
Yeah.
We can get you on more often.
I just would like to note, because I'm a Bigfoot denier. I think you remember that, Eric.
I thought you were a big. I didn't know you were a denier. But
No,
you
I'm
are.
a denier. Now, the Yeti, that's real, but Bigfoot I deny. Yeti's simply a mountain gorilla that migrated. Mm-hmm. Bigfoot, though.
No.
The California wildfires. Have you seen the pictures
DEWs?
of the snakes just charred in place? The rabbits, other animals, literally just charred in place where the fire caught them. They're pretty graphic. Like
Just like
pictures
an ash
of a
version?
charred snake hissing at what would be the fire. Or right?
Wow, that's weird.
Okay. Surely these fires would have driven a Bigfoot out into the open.
Oh, I thought you were going to direct energy weapons with this. All right, never mind. All right.
Well, I've seen those as well. I mean, that's
the 5G towers,
right.
yeah.
Those are fun, but
No, that's a good point. If there was a Bigfoot in those areas, they would have to be pushed out.
Or wouldn't you
burned
find
up.
a crispy Bigfoot?
Yeah.
Would you find a well done Bigfoot somewhere out
What
there?
if Bigfoot are underground creatures for the most part?
Okay, I mean again,
What if?
But
Right?
if they're getting air, the fire can get to them.
Yeah, you got
Yeah.
Or they're going to suffocate because
No air's
the
getting to
air
them, yeah.
has been sucked out of the cave, and now they're just there to decompose. So someone should be able to find one.
That's a good point. Where's
They
Bigfoot
ain't
in the
there,
fires?
folks. Sorry.
No more Bigfoot.
All right. Well, that was 2 shows in one. Short Bigfoot super show. That's fun.
No, I came in the other day and I told one of you, didn't I?
I don't recall.
Must
Maybe.
have been him.
Must have been
Yeah, it
Eric.
must have been you, E.
Could have been.
I said there's no Bigfoot. Surely one would have been spooked out by the fires by now. You would have seen a Bigfoot running down a highway on fire, waving something. Got nothing. Firefighters would have came up with something.
All right, boys. Tone, again, thanks for coming on. We want to have you on again. The last time was in July of 2017. I just looked it up, so it's been something like 16 months.
Wow. Yeah.
So-
Well, and I have a good idea. I'll give one to you.
Yeah. No, this was great. I had never heard of, like, specifically the Akashic Record. And to think, it was so fascinating to me whenever I got my head wrapped around what the idea of this repository could be and the logic behind how you could access it and the rules that must exist.
It's really worth exploring, folks. Just
get out there on the internet, find like all the little like the religious, all the little things we didn't go into, all the little rules about the 0 point field and the other things they talk about when it comes
to the Book of Life.
The Book of Life.
Yeah,
right. We didn't want to get into that kind of weird shit. Well, at least I know I didn't. But I don't know. Good show.
Yeah, definitely. Good show.
Thank you, boys.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for showing up. Check out yoradio.com for the best of online streaming. Look for in the future Rabbit Hole Radio, which Eric and I are working on putting together. Should be a good time. It's going to be a 24/7 conspiracy radio, anchored not by Surreal.
You're not going to
Talk.
hire Alex Jones, are you?
No.
Thank God.
Nobody big. That's the problem too. Is I'm going through putting together the list for this. I can't take anybody big. What need do they have for us?
Programming note: go get somebody who did the Project Blue Book show coming up on History in 2019. They're relaunching Blue Book. You guys are too young. Project Blue Book was a TV show when I was a kid.
A TV show. That's the
and it's coming back to History Channel. New stuff, but yeah.
Anyway, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and just shut it down. We'll carry this offline. But thanks again for joining us live on the stream and download the podcast. We'll catch you guys all next time. Have a good holiday. Well, by the time you read this, it will be already past the holiday. Hope your holiday was good. See you later.
Oh yeah. Aliens. Jeez Louise.
Got an hour and 46-minute show.
That was
nice.
Awesome.
Was a good show. Thank you for coming, everybody.
You know what I mean, though? Like if you, as soon as you access and agree to what you're seeing as your future, you can't change it because you agreed that you're accessing your future. That's it. It's your future. No matter if you know it or
it's
not.
really a fascinating thought that you're sort of locking it in by observing it.
Yep. And which is different from the Heisenberg. It's the exact opposite.
It's kind of the exact, like once I show this.
Because it's not an observation at that point. It's not like a simple particle. To observe the state of a particle, you have to have another particle or some force to interact with it. And the simple act of the force of the other particle changes the nature of the first particle. It's not like that. You're reading a record, something you're not interacting with. You're not observing so much as a record of an action rather than the action itself.
Yeah.
Right.
Oof.
Makes my brain hurt.
Mine too.
All right, you might as well kill the stream.
Yep.
We out here, guys.
Catch you all next week.